All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jared Smith of the Carolina Weather Group. We are getting a few folks together right now, but we wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with Fred today. It's been a busy day in the Carolinas for sure, as we begin to come online across our properties here. We just getting a few things straightened away here as we get ready to go live, but what we're going to do is we're going to kind of recap what's happened today. We'll have Dan Whitaker and Evan Fisher joining us here in a little bit to talk about what they've been seeing. They've been chasing today and have seen quite a bit of flash flooding. There have been quite a bit of tornadic activity. Several tornadoes reported in the upstate of South Carolina and the Midlands of South Carolina. So that we'll talk about that. There was even an earthquake, a 2.1 earthquake in Morganton, North Carolina. So literally a little bit of everything today as we watch Fred's remnants begin to move up into Virginia and getting out of here really over the next few hours. But we still are contending with pretty significant issues with the last rain band as it comes through here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fire something up real quick, and we're gonna book it over to the radar here, and we're working on getting everybody up and running here across all of our properties on the Carolina Weather Group and the Carolina Weather Group Network, as well as Carolina Weather Net. 24 hours, 7 days a week. Again, I'm Jared Smith. Down here in Charleston, South Carolina, where it was relatively quiet. We had some heavy rain. We had some flooding downtown this morning, but it wasn't anything that we couldn't handle, which is somewhat fortunate. We took, as you know, we took it on the chin here with Elsa. And now, unfortunately, it is Fred's turn to cause some issues with our friends in the Western Carolinas. So what we're going to do, that is not what I was shooting to do here. Give me just a second here as I continue to get everything up and running here. All right, that's what we're after. And we are going to do that. And we are now going to, so I'm going to come over here. So I got the radar over here, and you should be able to see what I've got going on. I look a little cut off here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move myself into position a little bit more so you can see me and you can see the radar. So what we've got, again, we have had several tornado warnings throughout the day. We still have a tornado watch in effect, and this extends, looks like this was recently updated. It looks this is still through the Midlands from Columbia up through Charlotte into Western Virginia. Not West Virginia, Western Virginia. Includes parts of the Piedmont of North Carolina and some of the mountains as well. This tornado watch continues until 2 a.m. So as we're seeing the line move through, one thing that's worth noting here is as we see this line begin to move through, that tornado watch is beginning to get trimmed away. So that is some good news, although we will still have a tornado threat in this area for the next little bit. So that's certainly something that we're going to want to keep a close eye on as we go. So we, again, kind of just bringing everybody up to speed here. We're gonna do a little bit more formal here in a few as we get online with all of our partners and all of our network here in the Carolina Weather Group. Again, I'm Jared Smith. We have Evan Fisher, who's going to be joining us here shortly, who has seen all sorts of flooding here today. Dan Whitaker is out chasing right now, and he has seen some things today. So we're looking forward to getting good information from these guys on what ended up being a very busy day of weather across the Carolinas. So again, what I got going on behind me here is this is Fred, this is satellite radar composite, and as you can see, we have one big rain band left. So I'm going to just stop this, and we are going to zoom in on this a little bit more. We have a new tornado warning, it looks like, actually. So let's do this. Let me get to this tornado warning. It looks like this is out of Columbia here, and we're gonna do this. And Evan, I'm gonna bring you into the picture here as well. As we have a new tornado warning has just been issued, and this is going until this goes until 9:15, and this is for a radar indicated tornado near Batesburg, Leesfield, moving northeast at 15 miles per hour. So this is, and it's gone. So, well, look, it's fine. I'm okay with that. I think I'm perfectly okay with that.
That was quick.
Hey, we'll take that today. We'll have to take that. A lot of people have not been so lucky. Now, further south down the line, in the I-20 corridor, we have a pretty decent. And Aiken took a hit today too. Aiken has been very busy in Aiken today. May have been a tornado down there as well. And we're going to get into all of that here in a second. But we have a little Boeing segment coming through with a severe thunderstorm warning attached. This is it's just past downtown Aiken. It's going to head towards Windsor, but it looks like the apex of the line may hit Wagner here soon. See if I can't get a little bit more. But obviously, I-20 between US 1, really up towards Columbia is going to be kind of dicey here for the next little bit. And I look at this, and I certainly this gets to the point where we begin to think about, we have a line of thunderstorms, and we begin to think about spin-ups on the edge of the line. And this is again a tropical system, but we can have these spin-up tornadoes on the edges of the line. So certainly something we're going to watch. Again, we have a tornado watch in here until 2:00. This is going to be. And again, this is that last band of rain. Once this is through, you're in pretty good shape. But this band continues to stretch the most intense portions of it from Boone south through Morganton and right now Shelby, Lockhart, South Carolina, Carlisle, getting into Chapin, and then eventually Lexington and into the Columbia metro here soon. This is also stretching south. Really, I mean, you go down into Georgia here, gets a little bit weaker as you get further south. We get further away from the better dynamics. And the other part too is that the instability of the day, the heating of the day is beginning to level out. We are at sundown at this point, so that is also going to help the situation as we go. But still, all that being said, it's very busy, and not just with the tornado threat, but with the flash flood threat as well. And the most important thing on the board right now is a flash flood emergency. And this is for the city of Canton, Clyde, and Pigeon River Valley to Lake Waterville. There is a flash flood emergency here. There is additional floodwater potentially heading down. Let's see here. So Haywood County Emergency Management is requesting residents near the Pigeon River, including the cities of Canton and Clyde, to evacuate to higher ground immediately. This was issued around 8:30. So again, if you're in this area, you probably got a big alert on your phone. Hopefully you did. Hopefully you got a big alert, and you are moving to a safe place right now. Evacuees are being asked to shelter at Tuscola High School. I hope I got that right. So again, flash flood emergency for Canton, Clyde, and Pigeon River Valley to Lake Waterville, and this is this is going to producing a flood wave moving down the Pigeon River through Canton, Clyde, and into Lake Waterville. So again, if you're in these areas, immediate action really should be taken at this point, as we have a flash flood emergency. Elsewhere, we have considerable flash flooding currently in progress in places like Brevard, into Asheville. Let me take some of these wind barbs off real quick so we can look at that a little bit more. I was looking at some of the winds there, but Marion, Old Fort, Lake Lure, and Hendersonville, Tryon under flash. So we have flash flood warnings going down to Greer and Spartanburg. here, but we have considerable flash flooding up in the mountains, and that's kind of what we expected as we bring Evan Fisher back into the picture here. And Evan, we had been discussing this last night. We had a feeling that today was going to be bad, and unfortunately, it looks like it delivered. And I know that you were out in it all day. So what did you see? Tell us about it.
Yeah, Jared, it's been a hectic day up here. Woke up this morning with heavy rain already coming down, and we knew that wasn't a good thing. We've had 2 to 3 days of heavy rain prior to this with a stalled front, and now today Fred has really worked us over. So about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we saw the moderate rain really tick up to some heavy rain rates as the first large band moved through the area and through western North Carolina. Now, parts of western North Carolina prior to that had already picked up 4 to 5 inches of rain before the heaviest precipitation even moved in. So as we got to the afternoon hours, it was just flash flooding galore. Any location that had heavy rain, which was just about every location, almost immediately flooded. So we have had more road closures than you can possibly count all across western North Carolina. I've seen reports of washed out roads, washed out bridges, mudslides, rock slides. We have a mandatory evacuation, an evacuation order, like you just said, Jared, out for Canton and Clyde. I've seen water lapping up and into homes today. It has just been truly the worst flood event that I have seen here in western North Carolina and specifically in Asheville in the 8 years that I've been here, including May 2018 when we had those crazy floods, and as well as December of the same year when we also had another big flood. This surpassed those, and I didn't think anything ever would.
Yeah, I saw references to September 24, 2004, 2014. Admittedly, the time is escaping me right now, but certainly stuff that we got to do there. I'm pushing buttons. I'm doing all the things today, so it's been a little hectic here. What we're gonna do as well is we've got looks like we have Dan Whitaker with us. He keeps clicking in and out for some reason. I have no idea what that's about.
Oops, sorry.
There he is.
There he is. Okay, cool. So Dan has been out chasing as well on the tornado side of things, on the tornado threat as well. We have some video that we're going to show here in a little bit from the Carolina Weather Group Twitter to illustrate what Evan is talking about. But Dan, tell us a little bit about what you've seen today and how things are going on your end.
Yeah, sure thing. And let me step out here in a second. So I'm actually here still in front of the line of storms. I am in Clover, South Carolina, and the precipitation and then the heaviest kind of lightning and portion of the storm in upstate South Carolina is right beside me. So let me jump out here and I'll see if I can position myself so we can see the lightning here. Okay, let me get into some headlights. Here we go. All right, we should see some big strikes behind me. So basically, yeah, it's been a interesting. Let's angle myself right there. You go.
There's your lightning.
It's been an interesting day, though. I've been in 4 different tornado warnings and had some close intercepts with some of the lowerings of the storms and what have you. But the one thing that was evident during this whole process was that the tropical setup of this and the lowerings of these storms is not easy to chase and not easy to visualize. It seems like the closer I got to the storms, the harder it was to see anything, and almost became a foggy type of view every time I got closer into the storms. Point being for that is if you are in the way of these storms, don't try and go out and see them. At this point in time, it seems like visualizing anything having to do with storms other than lightning is difficult, if not impossible. So there's been a lot of flooding, and there has been a few car wrecks that I ran across and torrential rain, but that's the bulk of what I've been seeing since 12 in the afternoon is when I started chasing the storm. So it's been a while. we have some cars coming down. They probably think I'm a little bit looking at the lightning, but that's what you do.
Yeah, it's been a long day, that's for sure. And again, what I've got up here right now, if you're looking in the thumbnails on the side here, you see the satellite radar composite. You can see all the flash flood warnings, the earlier tornado warnings, and everything as Fred's circulation now moves into roughly, looks like it's about parallel to the North Carolina-Tennessee line at this point. Continues to move north. We have that one last feeder band that's coming through, and that's what you're seeing the lightning from right now. And that's where Dan is right now, taking a look at the lightning on that. What we're going to do here, I'm picking up. I'm gonna get some video here from Fairview that Evan took and shared with us on CWG. And let me share my screen real quick and. Let me not. That's not what I want to do. So, and again, it has definitely been a very busy day, to put it gently, across the area. So here's let me get this zoomed in a little bit so y'all can see it, and then what we're gonna do is
nice lighting.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm considering, should I take out another camera here?
Zoom to that, and so you can see here. Evan, walk us through this.
Yeah, so Jared, this is just down the street from my house here in Fairview, North Carolina. We do live out in the country in some rather flat areas. We have 3 creeks. We got 3 creeks locally that run and kind of converge into one called Cane Creek. And Cane Creek today was raging. This water you're seeing right here is all flood water from Cane Creek, which is normally only 1 to 2 feet deep, and today was extremely high, the highest I have ever seen it. So I took this particular photo, or a video, pardon me, along the edge of Upper Brush Creek Road. That is a horse field that you're looking at out there. So that road was closed down. You could not go any further down it. The fire department had it blocked off. So was the other end of that road. I tried to access the road through both ends. Both sides were closed off due to flooding. The other smaller local tributaries were all swollen and reaching into roads and spots that I have never seen it. We had our one of the horse farms down the street had to evacuate their horses because the last I saw when I was there 45 minutes to an hour ago, there were 3 feet of raging water in the middle of the field. So thankfully they got the horses out in time and they were proactive about it. But it's been a scary day of flooding here across the Fairview, Asheville area.
Yeah. You cut out there at the end there, but certainly did, and I think we've got another bit of video here. Let me get this queued up for you, and this was something I think is something else that you caught here, and I mean, again, this is just absolutely. I mean, look at the debris flow in there.
Yeah, so that's a full-sized tree coming down the creek right there, which really isn't much of a creek anymore. I shouldn't even be calling it that. But
no, it's graduated, that's for sure, and not in a good way either, to put it mildly. So, so yeah, again, tonight has been we remain busy tonight. Again, we have flash flood warnings up and down the North Carolina mountains. We have a flash flood emergency for a few towns along the Pigeon River right now. We need those folks to be getting into shelter as soon as possible. And
it's important noting there, Jared, too, that it's not just shelter within your home, but higher ground shelter. The NWS, the National Weather Service, that issued this warning, their warning text, the words behind it were extremely frightening. They mentioned let me make sure I get this correct. They mentioned 4 to 7 inches of rain that have been observed across the county that are producing a significant and life-threatening flood wave moving down the Pigeon River through Canton, Clyde, and into Lake Waterville. That is wording like you hardly ever see out here. That is extremely, extremely rare and very concerning to see. Clearly, the National Weather Service is envisioning a very dangerous situation playing out right now across that portion of Haywood County. Low-lying roads, low-lying houses along rivers and streams. If you're anywhere within, if you know you got a creek or a river nearby, just go to higher ground. You will be surprised at how far the water rises and how far it spreads laterally today. You'll see water where you've never seen it before. And this warning right here is unlike anyone that's ever been issued for that area. And we need folks to get to higher ground if you live anywhere even remotely near a tributary, or in particular the Pigeon River.
You know, Evan, it used to be that the Weather Service put everything in all caps. We've moved to mixed text over the years, but when they use all caps, now they mean business. And seek higher ground now! I mean, they're yelling at you to get to higher ground. And so anybody who's, you know, if you've received this flash flood emergency on your phones, anything like that, we urge you here to be going to the shelter at Tuscola High School, and just hang in. It's going to be a busy day, and it's going to be a busy night. But the good news is that the rain, taking a look at the radar here, the bulk of the rain has moved away, and the bulk of the rain is continuing to move out of the area. So that is very good news for those folks, as we, you know, as we just deal with, you know, certainly a major situation here. So what we got going on here, you know, again, we still have a tornado watch in effect. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to switch us to the convective outlook real quick. And we still have, for the next few hours, an enhanced risk of severe weather, mainly driven by a 10% tornado risk, roughly from, let's see here. This is Chester County, Lancaster, South Carolina, up I-77 through Charlotte, crossing over 85, crossing 85, crossing 40 to Hickory, and then up towards Sparta and Mount Airy. So again, Statesville, North Carolina, you're in this. And again, this outlook is just to show, you know, the possibility, the potential here. And an enhanced risk is not, you know, is nothing to sneeze at. That's about as high as it gets around here, especially for a tropical system. And so we want people here over the next few hours to be on guard. We do have a tornado watch in effect here, and we're going to outline this here. This tornado watch stretches from Columbia all the way up to Roanoke, Virginia, and to Lynchburg. And this goes until 2 o'clock. Now, as the line of storms, as the feeder band moves away, as the feeder band moves through, we will begin to see this tornado watch be clipped away. In fact, we've seen some of that as we've been in this broadcast. We have seen the tornado watch slowly be whittled away. And so as things move away, we'll get a little bit better there. But for now, you know, but for now, still, this tornado watch goes until 2 o'clock. And what we're going to ask you to do is to make sure that you have multiple ways of receiving severe weather warnings that can wake you. Again, this is, we're getting into, you know, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. People are going to bed. It's a school night. And so what we need people to be doing is making sure that the NOAA weather radios are on, making sure that, you know, that your phones are on and you can hear the ringers in case a tornado warning is issued for your location. So we're going to bring in James Brierton, who's actually showing us, you know, he's showing us his radios. I was on the phone with him earlier and I got to hear one of them, and that was that was a
loud,
really,
wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a very loud and unpleasant experience, but I guess that's the point.
That is the point.
Yeah. So James, I know that we've been talking about kind of what's going on right now with the flash flood emergency, and we've been talking about, the good news is right now, no active tornado warnings, knock on wood,
plenty of flooding warnings though.
Yeah, plenty of flood warnings, you know, as we've seen from the, you know, and certainly that threat is going to be with us well beyond, well beyond Fred's departure here, because all the water that fell today has got to go somewhere. So James, can you bring me up to speed of some of the things that you've been hearing, and as we'll
Well,
kind
I'm
of
joining you in
reset the pins
progress, and
here.
I don't want to repeat too much, but I heard you just talking about that enhanced risk, that tornado watch, which is in effect until 2 a.m. for much of the I-77 corridor. Right off the bat, that includes where I'm sitting. So I'm in southern Mecklenburg County on the border of Charlotte and Matthews. I tried joining you from outside, but I'm inside nonetheless. I know we've seen lightning. Dan is a lot closer to that squall line right now than I am. But in the next hour, I'm expecting that line to come across where I'm sitting, and that's what's keeping me glued to the radar here. That's why I have these weather radios, and that's why I had one in the car when you and I were talking and I was driving home from work. So my day job in TV, we've been on and off the air, more on than off, covering tornado warnings across the Charlotte television area, which stretches from Boone and Blowing Rock down towards Hickory, Charlotte, and then down towards Chester and York counties. And they'll be back on Brad Panovich and team on WCNC as conditions warrant. And that's the general vicinity, as I understand it, of where our own Dan is tonight, where we're expecting this line to come on through. But let me just tell you, we're talking about, we have that tornado watch that is now out for the I-77 corridor. It wasn't originally. We now have an enhanced risk out from the SPC, which wasn't out originally. I don't want to play armchair quarterback. I couldn't sit in a hot seat at the National Weather Service and do the job that those men and women do. But there was a certain sense of when you get a tornado watch out and you're already half a dozen or more tornado warnings into your coverage, and then you get the watch. It felt a little late, dare I say, when we already had tornadoes on the ground that were confirmed, observed, and producing damage. And I'm talking about Iredale County. I'm talking about Alexander County. And then there was a barrage of them that just repeatedly going over. It was like the same counties along I-40, I got to tell you, this afternoon. It was Iredale, Alexander, Caldwell, Avery, Burke, over and over and over and over and over again. And from a communication standpoint, that gets really tricky. It gets really tricky to warn for a county that already has one or two other tornado warnings. As the guy who's sending push notifications, it gets very tricky for me to go, no, wait, this is a new one. Don't dismiss it just because you aren't in the last polygon, because you might be in this polygon. I mean, I was tempted and I didn't. I wanted to send an alert at one point that just said, if you're in Caldwell County, just assume you're in one of the 3 tornado warnings. Because that's what it came to at one point.
Sometimes, the storm-based warnings are a fantastic advancement, but this was the kind of day where county-based warnings certainly could have been enough.
Well, the flip side to that is York County, in their most recent warning in the past hour or so, tornado warning for far eastern western edge of York County is sounding sirens in Rock Hill and Fort Mill. No.
Yeah.
That's overwarning.
Yep. This ain't easy.
I know. It's not easy.
It ain't easy. And, and again, something that we were concerned about last night, was the potential for this to migrate east. And it certainly seemed like that came through.
I was the guy last night going, I don't really know if we're going to have enough of a tornado threat to issue a tornado watch. And then I was eating those words this afternoon, just going, could somebody please issue a tornado watch?
Well, I'm sure you put some hot pepper on that too, because it was certainly a busy day on that front. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull here the storm reports. And a lot of storm reports throughout the Carolinas today. So far, this is it, and this is in real time mode. So we're, so as we get reports in, this map will update. Surprisingly, yes, this is it.
Can I hinder a guess that there are going to be more to come? Because the men and women at the Weather Service are still in their active hot seats. They're still issuing those warnings, and so getting these reports out is imminent, but not the number one priority.
Exactly. And so what this can tell us is what happened earlier. Obviously, this is going to be flushed out. There's going to be storm surveys, undoubtedly going to be storm surveys. We don't know we're not going to know the complete picture of what has happened with Fred tonight. I think is the most important thing, but we can go through some of these reports and we can let's talk a little bit about, just what happened. So for example, near Edgefield, trees and power lines down, possible tornado. Lake Murray, a great video Shay Gibson, forwarded on by Shay Gibson onto Twitter. James, if you wouldn't mind punching that up, you could see the tornado come right across Lake Murray there, which I guess would make it a water spout.
Or Shay on Twitter?
It's on Twitter. Let me see if I can't get that one for you. Give me just a second. Yeah, I got my tabs all messed up. It's been a day, to put it mildly. So I think, James, feel free to take that and working with I'm working with two monitors here. So there's your tornado. There's your tornadic water spout right there, and that's right over Lake Murray there. So pretty good confirmation there. Certainly something on the ground, and this is not the only one that we've had today by any stretch of the imagination. Lake Murray has been busy. There was reports of tornadoes in Fountain Inn on 385, storm chaser there. Saw some. There was damage to several buildings in the town of Malden, and that in South Carolina, just south of Greenville. So certainly, we definitely had some issues there, with tornadoes, particularly in South Carolina. Now let me get back to my window here. I've got so many windows open. And so other tornado reports, this was 1 mile south of Stony Point, North Carolina. It was a tornado on the ground near Smith Farm Road, trees down and damage to nearby houses and buildings. Again, this was earlier. This is much earlier.
I have a video for that one, actually. Let me pop it up on the screen. Here is that likely tornado.
Mm-hmm.
Old Mountain Road, Smith Farm Road. Yep. Alexander County / Iredale County. This is video posted to Twitter by Brendan Pope, which is showing that likely tornado. I always say likely tornado or possible tornado until the Weather Service goes out there and does their storm report, even though it seems more often than not, or based on the evidence we have here today between radar and storm spotters, that this probably is the real deal.
Yeah, I get that feeling. I think that some of these are going to be, I mean, again, they when they LSR coded as tornado, it's pretty high confidence. And again, we had debris signatures on some of these. We had, it was just a really busy day. Elsewhere, there were reports of straight line wind damage, plenty of that, scattered throughout the Carolinas here. We had some strong winds at the coast. Down with some of the squalls that were moving through, a few 39-mile-an-hour gusts. That's tropical storm force down by Charleston and by Savannah. A couple heavy rain reports. We did have some flooding this morning in downtown Charleston. That fortunately subsided very quickly. It was right around low tide, so that drained really quickly, and downtown got lucky. The last band of heavy rain stalled out over Ravenel and Hollywood, where the 5.5 inches of rain could have fallen. We did get a gauge report of about 2 3/4 inches out there in Ravenel. So certainly, perhaps even larger amounts will come with the reports tomorrow. But by far the main concern that we're dealing with now. We do have the tornado watch, but the main concern that we're dealing with now is the risk for flash flooding, is just what we have going on in Western North Carolina, where we certainly have trouble here as the aftermath of this rain band. Again, the rain is over for the bulk of the rain is over up there. Where the flash flood emergencies are, but you can see this last band.
One saving grace, good news. Yeah, and this last band is about to be. Give it half an hour. It's going to be I-77 from the Virginia line, straight through Charlotte, straight through Columbia, and then out towards Statesboro, Georgia. And you could see that polygon watch there. I was going to go over to Dan Whitaker, if I may, find out where Dan is. Looks like he's coming back into a metropolitan little town here.
All right, let's see if we can get the camera to focus. It's having a little trouble with the
Me
rain
too.
on the windshield.
I think we're all having trouble focusing tonight.
The humid kind of outside weather is just creating so much condensation on my windshield that when I'm not driving, it just immediately condenses and Anyways,
Yeah,
so
what town are we looking at here, Dan?
So I am actually in Gastonia right now, right?
Oh, you went north. Okay, let me circle that for folks.
Yep. So I am right in the heart of Gastonia right now. You can see on the map there's some heavy convection out in Kings Mountain, creating some lightning. That's what we're seeing on my stream here. Is the lightning in both Kings Mountain and kind of northwest towards Bessemer City, and yeah, basically I've been profiling this line at this point from the south up for a few hours now. I think maybe 4 hours, and just kind of staying with it. It's kind of become a part of my, like, a little friend of my day, so to speak, because I've been with it so long at this point that I just don't want to leave it. But it's been interesting for sure, watching this thing evolve over time, and now we're kind of translating into what appears to be more of this rain and lightning and less of a tornado threat from what it appears, although there's still that threat there. But
yeah, there's a couple of little couplets here, Dan. I don't know, as you're driving, if you're able to look at radar, but if I switch this over to the terminal Doppler, folks, what I'm looking at is like right on in here, kind of got a little something. And if I switch this over from velocity, which is rain intensity, switch it from reflectivity to velocity, you can see Dan is about to come into a little bit of a wall of a wind here. So Dan, what's your plan when the rain and the wind catch up to you in the next 15 minutes?
Right. So the rain and the wind has been trying to catch up with me the whole day, and I just keep on kind of letting it catch up to me and then jumping out ahead of it again. And that's been basically the plan so far. And you can see here on my live stream, there's a police officer pulled over. He just turned off his lights. I wonder what that's about. I've seen a few cars off the road today. So it's definitely something that has happened due to the water pooling in the road. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a little bit different right now than it was earlier when we had, at least as far as official warnings go, we had 4 or 5 cells in a row all warned and tornado warned and kind of coming at me at the same time. It's interesting. I was there kind of when all the storms formed together into the line and kind of made that transition. And then I thought there wasn't going to be much else. And then all of a sudden, 2 more tornado warnings popped up. And I was actually on a live stream here with y'all. And I was in the middle of saving a turtle out of the middle of the road when that happened. And I jetted in and tried to get a view. And it was a funny moment, though, saving a turtle from the road during a tornado warning.
The little things.
Yeah, that's right.
I
think you make it a lot of kids happy. There's a lot of people who like turtles.
Who really who were like, who found it entertaining at the very least. And I mean, a car came by a moment later, so the turtle would have gotten squished. So I told them, I was like, at the very least, even if we don't see a tornado right now or see anything, at least we can all say we saved a turtle together. So.
You got to take the little things when you can get them, especially on a day like today. That's for sure.
So again, we're going to watch here. Dan's in Gaston County, just to the west of Charlotte and Mecklenburg County. And Dan, just to give you a heads up, coming into Bessemer City, coming into Kings Mountain now, radar estimated winds of nearing 50 miles an hour. A little shy, folks, of what would be warranted for a severe thunderstorm warning. That would be 60 miles an hour. But we're looking at each one of these little kinks here in this line could be what we need to spin up and yet another one of those quick tropical induced tornadoes right along that line.
And I got to look at the terminal Doppler over here too. I have so many windows going right now. I'm going to have to turn on a third screen, but I've been looking at the terminal Doppler and certainly, the winds near the surface. We're getting 1-minute updates from the terminal Doppler too, which is very helpful here right now. Winds closer to the surface, 20, 25 miles an hour as detected by the radar. But again, Certainly something that we're going to want to keep an eye on as time goes on, because again, as James mentioned, these things can spin up very, very quickly. The Weather Service in Greenville Spartanburg is watching this line like a hawk. They have been all day, and they continue to do so as it continues to push slowly eastward. So I'm just peeking a little bit.
Jared, a couple new
peeking a
storm
little bit out right now.
reports, if I may.
Yeah. Go for it, man.
WCNC Charlotte's Hunter Signs is up in Avery County, covering the ongoing flooding there. Avery County Emergency Management tells him, this is via a tweet he sent, there's flooding in the Panola area. The campground there has already been evacuated, had some power lines and trees down in the Elk River Road area. And then the Weather Service in the last few moments also confirming to us that they had some street flooding and multiple downed trees in downtown Linville. So those are all coming in from the Weather Service and reporting in the last few minutes. As again, we're still trying to catch up with all these storm reports. The warnings go out first and foremost, and then all the information from the ground is being ingested back in after that. We do have
I'm getting some my screens rearranged here.
Yeah. For Hayward. Okay. Yeah. We have that flash flood emergency that remains in effect for Hayward County in western North Carolina, where just imminent river flooding is occurring. Evacuations have been ongoing there for several hours. And now at 9:40, we're continuing to look at these live pictures from Dan Whitaker, who's in Gaston County. Looks like he's out on Interstate 85 now. And then also looking at radar here with this line that is slowly creeping into that Charlotte metro area all along I-77. So let me zoom this out so I don't do my Charlotte bias. But again, Augusta, Georgia, you're in the clear now of this line. Clear in Aiken, but it is coming into places here in the next few minutes like Red Bank and Columbia, Lake Murray, up along I-77, places like Richburg and Chester County, Rock Hill, Charlotte, Statesville. Again, Statesville, not a stranger to so much of this severe weather, but it'll be really interesting. I know the Weather Service is watching it like a hawk to see what they can catch on radar and try to issue a prompt warning for. We do have less warnings right now than we've had throughout much of the day, thanks in part to that losing of the solar afternoon radiation, but we still have enough energy with Tropical Depression Fred here that I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple more tornado warnings out of this line.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't surprise me. And, again, and that's why the watch goes until 2:00. I mean, at the end of the day, the tornado threat does not end until this band is through. As we know very well from Elsa, it doesn't matter with these kinds of tropical systems, that they'll spin something up, no problem. So we certainly want to continue to keep an eye on that. Again, we have 1-minute updates from the terminal Doppler out of Charlotte. We have frequent updates from the radar in Greenville Spartanburg, knowing that we do have a bit of a coverage issue at times over here. But
this is interesting.
We got good eyesight.
The National Weather Service just updating their tornado watch. You mentioned earlier, Jared, that they're dropping these as the line passes on through. So the tornado watch continuing into 2 a.m. Chester and York counties in South Carolina, Alexander, Cabarrus, Caldwell, Catawba, Davie, Gaston, Iredell, Lincoln, Mecklenburg, Rowan, and Union in North Carolina. I need to get a longer list. This is actually just GSP's list. But GSP has canceled the watch for Cherokee, Greenville. These are the counties that are in the clear from the tornado watch. Cherokee, Greenville, Greenwood, Lawrence, Spartanburg, Union County, South Carolina, Avery, Bumpkin, Burke, Caldwell, Henderson, McDowell, Mitchell, Polk, Rutherford, and Yancey. And I specify again, Union County, North Carolina still has that tornado watch because the line isn't even to Charlotte yet.
But that's a nice chunk of people who can take a breath.
But you still need those weather radios, especially if you live anywhere along a streak, river, stream. Just because it's not flooding now doesn't mean it won't be flooding during the overnight hours. We got to take all of that rain that fell across western North Carolina and run it down the river network, the Catawba River, other rivers, and then out to the ocean. I mean, we're going to be watching the swelling of that river for the next few days.
Yeah, and that's going to be, and again, this is certainly not over. I wanted to take a minute to take a peek at the radar. Looks like we've got something might it doesn't look great on reflectivity. And again, knowing the downsides of terminal Doppler, but we're starting to see maybe a little bit of, we've had some lightning in the storm in the last few minutes, up towards Laboratory in Lincolnton. You might want to keep an eye on this one. It might be trying to misbehave. And that's certainly something that we're going to want to watch very closely. Yeah. So again, these are transient. Just because it's rotating now doesn't mean it's going to cause a problem necessarily. But again, this is the kind of thing that we're looking for tonight, as we, just continue to watch this line as it moves through.
I have two sets of questions. One from Will here about Fort Mill. Then we've got another one asking if they can go to bed in Fort Mill. So let's pop radar back up and let you guys kind of know what we're anticipating in Fort Mill. I'm going to switch to the Columbia radars, much as that terminal is useful at times. So Fort Mill is going to be right on in here in York County, right? And so that's right now the line is just coming over the city of York. So we're about 15 more miles out from the rain starting in Fort Mill. And if we just want to confirm this kind of angle, trying to do a storm track here for everybody out. So we're moving a little bit east, but also north at the same time. It's going to be not until 10:30 that this line gets to Fort Mill. Doesn't mean you can't go to bed, but it does mean you're going to need something to wake you up in case of a warning. So that could be, again, a NOAA weather radio that will beep. It could be a cell phone that is subscribed to phone call notifications, text message notifications, your favorite news app. And so that is something to keep an eye on here in Fort Mill. This line, guys, is slow. Quite slow.
Yeah, and as Fred's circulation moves further north, the slower it will get. And in fact, this band is probably going to regenerate. This isn't actually a great time for Roger's question here. This band is likely going to regenerate showers and thunderstorms all the way through to the coast overnight into tomorrow. In fact, Charleston, we may be waking up in Charleston tomorrow to another round of heavy rainfall. So, Roger, to your point, Roger M asks us, will this hold together to affect the Raleigh area? Probably not as a tornadic issue, because again, the best wind shear and the best dynamics for that are shifting north with the circulation. So as that circulation gets further north, the risk for tornadoes is going to go down progressively further east. And so while you might not see spin up tornadoes or anything like that, we could see some heavy rainfall at times overnight into tomorrow morning. That's kind of what we're expecting right now as this moves through. Again, I don't think there's going to be a situation where we're going to see we could start to see even the southward extent of this tornado watch get trimmed up a little bit if in fact these trends continue. It looks like, again, when thinking about where the best co-location of wind shear and instability and everything is, that is going to continue to move northward as Fred's center moves northward. So something to keep in mind there as we go on through the night. So Raleigh, again, you're not in a tornado watch. I don't anticipate that you're going to be in a tornado watch.
I didn't think Charlotte was going to be in one yesterday. So.
Well, I think that, I mean, they were moving the slide all around this morning, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to be just fine over in the Research Triangle, everything there. So I want to get Evan back into the conversation a little bit because he's got a roll soon. But Evan, if you wanted to kind of recap some of the things that you've seen for people who may be just joining us, Evan has been out in the field today and has seen quite a bit. So Evan, I'm going to let you take it away here.
Only if
you may need to unmute your mic.
I had the sneaky little computer mic, not the Restream mic. It was tricking me. Yeah, it's been a busy day here, not just for me here in Fairview, but also for everyone across Western North Carolina. We've had tornado warnings up into the mountains, one warning up into Highlands, which was incredibly unusual. And we had just rampant stream and creek and river flooding all across the area. You can see on your screen here, this is one of the videos that I shot earlier, just actually down the street from my place, my hometown of Fairview, North Carolina. This is flooding from the Tropical Depression Fred. I believe it's a depression now, right? It's been such a busy day. Haven't even had time to look. And we've had pounding heavy rain all day long. And this afternoon it culminated in a series of flash floods, and the last of which is still ongoing, was extreme and arguably the worst I've seen in 8 years that I've lived here. And I've seen multiple folks from nearby farms and areas saying that this matches and in some ways exceeds the floods of 2004, when we had back-to-back tropical systems that dumped tens of inches of rain across western North Carolina. We have seen swift water rescues. We've had farm rescues of local horses and cows. We have had houses inundated with water. We have stranded cars. We have washed out roadways and bridges. We have downed trees and power lines. It has been a little bit of everything today. Thankfully, we missed out on the tornado damage up here in the mountains. I know folks down to our south and east, unfortunately, we're not so lucky. We have a lot of cleanup to do over the coming days and weeks. Canton and Clyde out in Haywood County, those two cities are getting worked over tonight. They're under a flash flood emergency, where the National Weather Service is expecting a flood wave to move down the Pigeon River, potentially record crests on the table tonight for that river. A warning like this has not been issued before for these areas. Evacuations. An evacuation order has been put out for low-lying areas within that warning. Folks here, if you happen to be within this warning and you're in a low elevation area, you're anywhere remotely close to a stream, a river, or let alone the Pigeon River, you need to just get out of there. Go ahead and move to higher ground. There will be water tonight where there has never been water before, likely that you've ever seen. It'll surprise you, and it could very well catch you off guard, and you don't want that at all. That's how we lose folks. And so far, with all the danger that's been out there today, I haven't seen any fatalities reported, which is wonderful. I hope it stays that way, and I hope I just haven't missed that information.
I was going to say the same thing right back to you, Evan.
Yeah.
Amongst everything you just said, I am not aware of any injuries or fatalities thus far, and that's remarkable.
It truly remarkable. I've seen numerous instances of swift water rescues. I know there have been folks pulled out of their cars. I know there have been videos of cars tumbling down rivers. That's not a good look. Typically, when you see that, that's a bad situation, and it's not unusual to have fatalities in those. But clearly, our local first responders have, as always, just been at the top of their game, and they are the best of the best. They've kept folks safe, even those of us, not myself, I will say, I stayed out of floodwaters today and just shot them from the side. But even the folks that ventured into the flooding and maybe lost cars, thankfully they did not have to lose their lives, because we do have just incredible first responders, and we need to be very grateful of them in the coming weeks.
Yeah, here's the look at the Pigeon River at Canton observations here. Major flood stage at 19 feet and counting, and it passes flood stage. It says at 10 feet, so we are twice the flood stage, and we still have to work all of that water back off the mountains.
Keep an eye on that record too. It might fall short of that record, but just because it's not necessarily making a record doesn't mean it's not a problem, and it certainly is a problem.
Absolutely.
So it's certainly something we're going to watch. There's I'll give a lot of people a lot of credit today. People have done a really nice job of heeding the warnings. A friend of mine is a caretaker on the Appalachian Trail. I was messaging with her a bit tonight, and she passed along some really good, updates from people saying that, they certainly took things seriously. They got home before things got bad. Certainly a little busy up there. Maybe not to this extent, but people have done a wonderful job responding to the message today, and we thank you. I think that's probably the best compliment that any of y'all could give us, is that you listen to the Weather Enterprise and put those things into place. So we thank you very much for that, and we hope you continue to stay with your local media and us or whoever you like for the next few hours, especially if you're still in this tornado watch.
Yeah, let's talk for a moment about the tornado watch, and then stand by, Dan Whitaker. I want to touch base with you too and see what's changing out there in Gaston County. But I read off some counties that GSP had cleared from their coverage area. Now Columbia has done the same. So Newberry and Saluda counties in South Carolina, you're now cleared from the tornado watch. We do still have the tornado watch continuing for Fairfield, Kershaw, Lancaster, Lexington, and Richland. Of course, that's until 2 a.m. We've been watching on a radar here, this line, which at the pace we're going, looks like it's not moving, but it is. And we've got Dan Whitaker. Go ahead.
I did some timing tools on this too. Yeah, let's get Dan real quick. And
okay,
sorry.
Dan, just curious to know, since we last talked to you, which direction you're headed and if anything has changed.
So I am kind of on the northwest side of Charlotte right now on the loop, and I am just still kind of paralleling the line of storms here. Probably head up north towards Statesville, and go from there as far as trying to keep up with some of the heaviest cells and most extreme areas of lightning. And it's interesting, in the last even 10 minutes or so, it seems like a few of these storms have strengthened and gained more lightning and broken away from the kind of the line format and are separating slightly. So I don't know if y'all are seeing that as well, but it is definitely interesting. I don't know if there's some kind of dry air getting brought into there that's either going to slightly weaken the line, or if what it seems to be is that something's actually feeding some of these supercells to strengthen a little bit more than they were even 10 minutes ago. And that being said, this is usually the precursor you see before you start seeing some velocity couplets and then the tornado warnings like that. So it's something definitely still to keep an eye on. I'm just going to try and parallel these storms, and as we see more rotation or less rotation or tornado warnings, try and stick with the strongest cells into the night, and we'll see where that leads me.
Dan, a couple things I can answer for you as I pop radar up on the screen. Yes, they're still seeing lots of lightning over parts of Gaston County towards Lincoln County. Some of the more discrete cells, I mean, it's still largely aligned, but there are still kinks in it that is giving each one of these a little room to breathe, right? So in terms of tornado development, the storms would have a better chance of developing if they weren't squished up against another particular line. And in terms of dry air or heat, one of the things that comes to mind, you guys can tell me whether or not you think this has any bearings, is Charlotte's an urban heat island. So although we've lost the solar radiation of the day, we've got plenty of radiation heating coming off of all of our concrete and pavement and stuff as it comes into the Charlotte area. I'm not saying that's going to crank it back up to what we saw this afternoon, but I'm going to guess it doesn't hurt in terms of storm development.
Certainly couldn't. I mean, and again, these small scale things are certainly worth, a lot of research. And the research that has been done on urban heat islands is that they do have a material effect on at least the quantity of thunderstorms, if nothing else. One of my favorite studies around that is when the Braves moved to Cobb County, to what is now Truist Park. Their rainout rate went up by 3 times. Because of where they were located on the periphery of the urban heat island. So some interesting things to go along with that. But yeah, we're watching these cells really closely, and definitely keeping an eye on this, both from the terminal Doppler as well as the 88D out in Greenville, Spartanburg, as the line does continue to push east. And again, we are seeing that trend towards maybe maybe a little bit of a, more discrete mode here. So that's certainly something that we're going to watch. Wanted to quickly get into some timings, and then what we're going to do, we'll reset things, and we'll just kind of reset the pins here a little bit for everybody who might be joining us at 10 o'clock. I I've been timing some of these things out over here. We may start to see, in fact, we're starting to see some showers pop up ahead of the line too. So that could also be a sign that maybe there could be a handoff about to happen here too. We might see the back of the line could be weakening. And so we're seeing some showers pop up ahead of it. We'll see how this progresses. But that being said, the main part of the line will probably be in places like Charlotte here in the next half hour. Fort Mill, we were talking about earlier, probably in the next half hour. And again, these are not going to be precise. This is a hard one to kind of put a bow on and get that out there. But certainly over the next hour to half hour to an hour across the Charlotte metro area is probably going to be, you're going to see that weather begin to deteriorate once again, showers and thunderstorms, certainly with some heavy rain. And of course the tornado watch continues. So let's, 10 o'clock, let's just get a reset on this. I'm Jared Smith with James Brierton here. I'm in Charleston. James is in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is Carolina Weather Group continuing coverage of Tropical Depression Fred. We'll just call him Fred, who has produced quite a bit of flash flooding and tornadoes in the Carolinas. A couple things to call out right out of the gate is that if you're in the town of Canton, North Carolina, anywhere along the Pigeon River right now, towards the head of the Pigeon River, there's a flash flood emergency out along the Pigeon River. And local emergency management is asking you to evacuate. If you know anybody there, certainly if their phone hasn't gone off yet, this has been an issue for a couple hours now, but we want people to heed those warnings, seek higher ground immediately. If you are in this area, it has been quite a day. We've had numerous water rescues. We had Evan Fisher on from the Fairview, North Carolina area outside of Asheville earlier, and he was talking to us about water rescues. He was talking to us about just all the creeks swelling into rivers, just all the things that he was seeing out there. And and so we continue to watch this. We have a tornado watch until 2 o'clock. Let me go back to I'm going to go back to graphics here. But yeah, what we've got on the screen right now is the footage from some of that flash flooding that was seen earlier. So since last time we talked about tornado watch, this has changed shape a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and take my screen full here. So again, we've as this line of storms has been moving to the east, we've been able to trim out parts of the tornado watch, but we still have a tornado watch down in the Columbia metro area, up I-77 through the Charlotte metro, and really going up I-77 all the way to 81 up in Roanoke, Virginia. So again, anywhere along I-77 through Charlotte into Columbia, I think that's a pretty easy corridor. You are under a tornado watch. You're going to be under a tornado watch until 2 a.m. or until this line passes you by. So certainly something to keep an eye on. Again, getting close to falling asleep time. And so it's important that if you're in this tornado watch to make sure that your warnings, that you can hear warnings, that they can wake you. We have a number of ways that you can do that. NOAA Weather Radio is great. Smartphones are great. We've got, there's lots of ways to do this. Your local news apps will help you take care of that. If there is one bit of good news is that we do not have any active severe thunderstorm or tornado warnings on the board right now. So that is a sliver of good news. Let's hope this continues. However, we continue to watch this line. Some signs that these cells might be becoming a little bit more discrete. And I'm not talking about the modest kind of discrete. I'm talking about the by themselves kind of discrete. And as that happens, we'll certainly have to watch for the potential for anything to potentially spin up very quickly. James, your neck of the woods, we've been, certainly busy there as well. Give us a recap of some of the things you've heard today and just kind of the general situation you're seeing out there.
Yeah, so you talked a little bit about the rivers, and I'll show these gauges on the screen right now. We have numerous rivers that are in moderate and major flooding, including the one out in Hayward, County, the Pigeon River there at nearly 20 feet. And then we also have the French Broad up near Marshall that is just shy of major. It's in moderate, forecasted to kind of come right up to that major line. So again, you're going to want to keep a close eye if you live along any of these rivers, streaks, or streams, including the Rocky River near Bat Cave. Now, we also had some incredible video that Evan Fisher shot, again, up near Fairview. This is that flash flooding. This is what this looks like, folks. This is what flash flooding is all about. It is life-threatening flooding where flooding is not supposed to be. We're not talking about the ponding of water on your neighborhood road. Flash flooding and flash flooding emergencies are life-threatening. And then on top of that, we did have the convective side of the severe weather today. Here's some video that Shay Gibson shared from Lake Murray showing what looks to be a water spout doing a very beautiful but scary dance over Lake Murray earlier. And then, Jared, we talked about one of the storm reports that was in the Alexander County / Iredale County area here in the broader Charlotte metro area, and this was for a tornado that caused damage just near the Statesville airport. And this is video from Brandon Pope that he posted to Twitter showing that likely tornado. Now, the National Weather Service is going to have their hands full trying to go out to do storm assessments and surveys over the course of the next few days, and we'll wait for them to officially confirm what was a tornado or what was something else. But a lot of evidence today would suggest we had at least a few tornadoes on the ground, whether that be from storm spotters or from correlation coefficient. And now at 10:06, although we have no severe thunderstorm warnings and no tornado warnings, we do have active flash flood warnings, including flash flood emergencies for life-threatening flooding. And we're also watching our Dan Whitaker, who's up on the north side of Mecklenburg County, where he's anticipating meeting this line in the next little bit or so. Given by the 11 o'clock hour, this should be making its way across that I-77 corridor all along both North Carolina and South Carolina. This line from Virginia down through North Carolina, through South Carolina. And if you were to pretend, I've done this before, if you were to pretend that I-77 kept coming out of Columbia, that's where we can expect this in the next little bit. Dan Whitaker, you've come to a stop, my friend. What's going on?
Come to a stop. That's right. It's time to refuel and get things going for the next stage of the adventure here as I parallel the line of storms up towards Statesville. So it looks like there's a little bit of light rain already occurring there across the main highway. What is that? 77 going north. 77 north. And so I'll kind of be driving through that and kind of anticipating just staying just a couple miles to the east of this line for the next probably couple hours. We'll see if I can do 12 hours with the line.
I could give you some coffee suggestions for the Charlotte area if it wasn't already 10 o'clock at night. Some questions I can answer coming in right now. Jackie watching on YouTube, is Sparta under a tornado watch? No. Allegheny County in North Carolina here is no longer under a tornado watch. Flash flood watch, though, does continue along with numerous flash flood warnings for the mountains. So no more tornadoes once this line kind of comes on through. This is the end of the tornado threat associated with Fred here in the Carolinas, but those green polygons are going to be around for some time. I also want to welcome in everybody who's watching us now on the Facebook pages of so many of our friends in the weather community. Jared's Charleston weather page, Scotty Powell and his page, and of course, you're watching severe weather coverage from the Carolina Weather Group, where you can find us streaming anytime on the Carolina Weather Net. It's the place for Carolina weather fans. You can find it for free on the Carolina Weather Group YouTube channel. If you have any other questions or comments, let us know. We'll keep an eye on those. But otherwise, it's this line that we are just anxiously awaiting. And again, no tornado warnings associated with it right now. But maybe, Jared, if I can give you a few moments heads up and we can maybe take another look at all those storm reports we got in earlier today. The Weather Service is still doing the real-time job of issuing warnings, but also ingesting so many of those storm reports. But again, that flooding where we have evacuations going on in Hayward County. And then we also had Avery County Emergency Management. This is according to WCNC's Hunter Signs. Avery County Emergency Management telling him that the flooding in Panola area with a campground there has been evacuated. I've since learned that was about 100 people or so. So a lot of these areas that aren't just right up against water, but are in any sort of low-lying area adjacent to water, as those pictures from Evan were suggesting, are subject to flooding. And that's why we have those green polygons for numerous counties, is because of all of that water runoff.
Yep, exactly. And again, that's going to be something that's going to be with us for a few days. It's got to go somewhere. And so we're going to have to watch that very closely down the rivers there. Wanted to talk a little bit about the storm reports that we've gotten today. And we've had quite a few come in. And again, this is certainly not a complete picture of what we know. This is what we know right now. This is not a complete picture of everything that has gone down, but because again, the same folks who are issuing the warnings are also in charge of filing storm reports. So sometimes the warning is a little more important than what happened before. So we'll give them some grace. This is going to take some time for us to understand. But let's start with some of the wind damage and tornado reports. So it was a possible tornado near Malden, South Carolina. Some structural damage to buildings there. Fountain Inn. Video evidence of a tornado crossing I-385 earlier from a Life Storms media chaser. So that was a picture that I saw on Twitter recently. It certainly looked good. Possible tornado in Edgefield with trees and power lines down earlier. There is, we've had a tornado cross Lake Murray. We saw that. We've showed that video just a few minutes ago. Several reports around Lake Murray where that tornado came through. Various bits of wind damage. Trees down, your typical trees down, and a few trees on roads. Vegetation damage called in by a ham near Fountain Inn. More straight line wind damage as well in Fountain Inn, and then there was a tree on a house in Seneca. So that was near Walhalla there in Oconee County, South Carolina. So certainly some issues there in South Carolina. We've also had some reports of funnel clouds and even some lightning strikes coming in. Just got a new report here. Lightning strike to a roof with torrential rain, full roof collapse with the building on fire. This is reported at 10:05, 4 miles northwest of Vail in Catawba County, North Carolina. So lightning is certainly a concern from this as well. And then of course the numerous flash flood reports we've had throughout the day. And again, we currently have a flash flood emergency along the Pigeon River in western North Carolina. So again, we want people to be aware of that. We got video of a tornado in Iredell County. Smith Farm Road, trees down, damage done,
that
nearby
storm
houses.
Report, by the way, helped us verify that today. We got the video, matched it with the storm report.
Mm-hmm. So again, I mean, those your reports are very, very useful. Get them to us safely. But certainly certainly a very busy weather day across the Carolinas.
I have some unfortunate news to pass along, and it's more frustrating than anything else. But I told you a moment ago that Hunter Signs had learned from Avery County Emergency Management that they had evacuated 100 people there at a campground. Turns out they were trying to evacuate 122 people, but only 2 or 3 households actually decided to leave. Most of them have stayed put.
Well, that's the hard part of doing this. That's the hard part of doing this. I
don't know the full extent of the situation there, but it harkens back to any other evacuation that is done for weather information. Sure, you can stay, but we ain't coming for you.
Do you really want to stay? I mean, that's that's the question there for sure. So, let's do you have, James, happen to have a sky cam near Gastonia I-85? There's a nice little surge of straight line wind coming down through there.
No.
Also some. Okay. All right. Well, there you go.
Kind of, sort of, maybe. So without going on a huge rant, South Carolina DOT. Thanks so much for streaming your cameras. North Carolina DOT. What the hell?
It's the rare case where I'm going to say something that's going to get me in trouble.
You're in South Carolina,
but
man. I haven't gone there.
I'm in South Carolina. We can. That's something we can claim bragging rights on.
So we do. We have cameras. We have cameras from WeatherStem at UNC Charlotte, looking at Uptown from WCCB television and South Carolina Educational Television in Rock Hill. I don't have access to any streaming cameras in Gastonia. You can access the DOT cameras in North Carolina on drivenc.org, but they only update still pictures like every 5 minutes, so that's not going to help you much.
Nope, that's not going to do. So anyway, all that being said is that we have some strong winds. Looks like it's going to come through Gastonia here, coming through Gastonia right now. Straight line winds. And there's no severe weather with this. This has not been identified as a severe thunderstorm. Again, we have no convective warnings on the board. So severe thunderstorm, tornado, no convective warnings on the board. So that is a nice thing. That's certainly something that we like to see, and we hope it stays this way throughout the night. We still do have a tornado watch in effect, though, and that is going to, and that's just something that we're going to have to deal with. But but as we go, we're looking for little kinks in the line. We're looking for, small spin ups. Certainly a suspicious area near high shoals that I'm keeping an eye on. And so again, folks, we want to make sure that if you're in this tornado watch area, let me see if oh no, I wasn't smart. I put everything back. So give me just a second here to.
That's okay. I'm going to
get the watch filled back up.
Yeah, while you get ready to show us where the watch is, I feel like it's been a moment, if nothing for myself, looking at radar estimated rainfall totals. Now, this is radar estimated, folks. So this is what the radar kind of measured in the atmosphere. But clearly there are some geographical gaps where this doesn't help us very much. But let's just query where we can, right? So a little north of Old Fort, wow. 12, almost 13 inches of rain. Radar estimated 10 inches. Let's make our way towards Black Mountain, 7 inches. Now, you'll remember from our special last night that the Weather Service knew from historical context that anytime you got more than 7 inches, you were threatening mudslides. And we did get one up in this neck of the woods earlier. So that holds true. 10 inches as you make your way a little bit closer to Lake Lore. Up near Marion, where we had a couple tornado warnings earlier, 7.5 inches. Making our way now up towards Boone, Watauga County, 8 inches. And let's talk about some of these bullseyes across western North Carolina. Oh, wow. 14, 15 inches of radar estimated precipitation in the atmosphere. That is an incredible amount of rain.
Yeah. I'm looking at some of the MRMS data, and that's of course this is an hour old at this point. It takes a little time. Basically, the Weather Service has developed tools over the years that let us look at, and unfortunately, I'm not in a position. I cannot broadcast it over, so I'll have to figure out how to get a screenshot up, and I'll work on that. But the MRMS data out of here is, is certainly significant. This takes into account not only the radar estimates, but also gauges and things like that. And it may be very well underdone, but a wide swath of 5 to 6 inches across much of western North Carolina, to be sure. And again, over the last 24 hours.
And over the last hour, I'm wondering what this line is doing right now because it's slow, right? So over the last hour, a fresh 1.25 inches of rain.
That's the difference product. You switch to accumulation array. Yeah. That product is going away soon, which I'm very happy about. We don't need that product anymore. But
got it. Okay.
Yeah, this is what you want.
This is all day, or this is just in the last hour?
Last hour.
Okay. So 2 inches. In parts of Gaston, make your way out towards Kings Mountain, 2.5 inches of rain. So there's no flood warnings right now, but even places like Hickory, 2 more inches of rain. So that's a consideration here. I'll tell you, and you could check the recording from yesterday,
Mhm.
I thought our problem in Charlotte today was going to be flooding. We haven't seen much in terms of rain in Mecklenburg County. And we haven't seen much in Mecklenburg County. Matter of fact, we haven't had a warning in Mecklenburg County all day. Find some wood to knock on.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, but I really thought, not to make light of where this flooding problem is, because the worst of this flooding problem is exactly where we all thought it was going to be, right? We thought the worst of the flooding was going to be in the mountains because of terrain and closer to the circulation of Fred and so on and so forth. But I really thought that before 10:30 at night, I would be thinking about creeks in Mecklenburg County, and I've made it now until almost 10:30 at night without thinking about creeks in Mecklenburg County.
Well, the thing to keep in mind is that you're not out of the woods yet because this is a slow-moving line. The line itself is very slow. And yes, we did have an earthquake north of Morganton this morning. There's just
crazy
today was insane.
One thought on that real fast, and I'm sorry because you were in the middle of a thought too. But Brad Panovich said something that was really interesting. He goes, the earthquake had nothing to do with Fred, but we had moist soil that then went through an earthquake. So now it's wet and kind of shaken up and loosened. And now you're going to bring all of these storms and additional rain on top of it. He goes, it's just like a sponge. It's just like the integrity is not really there. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I had not thought that the earthquake was going to have any other effect other than, could this day get any crazier?
That's a really good point. Brad's got a really good point there.
He tends to have
that makes
really
a lot
points.
of sense. Yeah, he tends to know what he's doing. So anyway, so James, just again for the folks in Charlotte, you may not be out of the woods yet. Again, this is the line is relatively moving slowly to the east, and you're going to have a lot of training of very heavy rain because the cells are moving north within the line, and so training of rain is certainly could be an issue. Again, we saw 2 to 3 inches estimated by radar in Gastonia. As the line goes through just in an hour. So we still could very well be seeing some flooding issues in the Charlotte metro here in the next little bit. So that's certainly a storyline that we're going to want to watch very closely there. But James, as you said, the antecedent conditions in Mecklenburg County themselves, pretty dry, not too bad in the Charlotte metro today. We've had much more rain up in the mountains in the last 3 days.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah, and then you just drop this because there's been a cold front stalled out, and certainly that has been that's just been wild. But yeah, we still I'm looking at some of the mesoanalysis products on the screen that's over here, and we're still seeing the precipitable water value. Basically, if you take the atmosphere and you wring it out like a sponge, that's how much water you're going to get. Anywhere from 2 to 2.3 inches. Across North and South North Carolina there. Good little plume on the east side of Fred, also being drawn up by the subtropical ridge that has been shunted off a little bit to the east. And so there's a good funnel of moisture from the Atlantic and from the Gulf.
We just talked about how this line is dumping another 2 inches of rain or so. I just wanted to throw this out. We now have a flash flood warning for Catawba. Catawba, Hickory, Conover.
Yeah.
Where that line just came on through. So I just wanted to note that because I had specifically said a moment ago that there wasn't one. Now there is.
Yep.
Not that I'm taking credit for it. I just wanted to clarify in case anyone was watching. Hickory.
Yeah, for sure. And again, that's going to be until 4:15. 1 to 3 inches of rain over the last 60 minutes. And so Hickory to Conover the next 1 to 2 hours, very possible that flash flooding could develop here.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about flooding in the higher elevations. So here's some from the lower elevations at the foothills. Cleveland County, 9 o'clock, Highway 150 reportedly underwater. Then we also just had in from Caldwell County, Johns River Road at Highway 90 impassable due to the Johns River overflowing Johns River Road. So very aptly named.
Yeah, when it's generally not good when the river overtakes the road that's named for it, and so that's no good. And we're dealing with the hydrological side of things, but there is still the potential for tornadoes this evening. that potential has gone down a little bit. Storm Prediction Center has recently issued a mesoscale discussion to that effect. For those of you who have not hung around us very much, or just might tune in for severe weather, the Storm Prediction Center out in Norman, they will occasionally put out discussions for areas that to kind of discuss the near term. Yeah, there we go. So there's kind of a near term forecast, so to speak, and so what the meteorologists at SPC have basically called out is that we have, is that there's still the potential for some quick spin up tornadoes with this line. So that tornado watch is going to continue. That tornado watch I've got up here, that's going to continue along the I-77 corridor until this line gets through, or 2 o'clock, whichever comes first. Again, this stretches from Roanoke down I-81, down 77, Hickory, Charlotte, Columbia, Rock Hill, those areas. All of y'all are still under a tornado watch until 2 a.m. So again, we want you to be, to be conscious of this situation and, have, and have your safety plan ready to go. Make sure that if you get warnings, you can get warnings that they can wake you. No weather radio is a really good way to do that. Tornado warnings will alert on your smartphone, so make sure that you have that off of silent as well.
I'm going to show you a little something here. Just to Lincoln County now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little low-level convergence signature. I've been watching that.
And this is the terminal Doppler, so we can't get much lower than this. And over the last few frames, it's there, but I thought it was almost getting a little broad right there.
Well, keep in mind, I don't think that it's necessarily so much rotating as it is just maybe some. I mean, we have you have the probably. I mean, it looks kind of like downbursty almost,
right?
If you think about it,
you had moving apart, but then it almost came back together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what you've got. I think you've got a little downburst going on there, because if you go back to the velocity display, and we'll show you what this is. So the reds are the winds going away from the radar, and keep in mind the radar is to the southeast of this view here. So terminal Doppler is in Charlotte. We're looking at. We're looking, and so we're looking into the storm roughly. I can get that elevation at some point, I think. But anyway,
it's pretty low.
Yeah. I mean, the terminal Doppler is, that's not exactly 500 feet. So that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty close to the surface. So you have that red and the green. So typically when we talk about the red and the green together, we're talking about rotation. But the key is that you can't kind of have each line here. If you think about the radar in a series of lines called radials, if you have the red and the green next to each other on different radials, that's where you have rotation. But if they're along the same radial, that's very likely in this case, because you have winds going towards the radar in one direction and winds going away from the radar in another direction along the same radial. It's very likely a downburst signature. Very likely heavy rain causing the wind to spread out a little bit. And so it's very likely some straight line wind there. Again, it does not appear to be severe enough to warrant a warning yet. I'm sure GSP is watching it though. But that's kind of what you're seeing there. You're not really seeing necessarily the genesis of a tornado, which is that's, if there's any comfort in that, right?
We've had a lot of downburst damage in the past week across the Carolinas. And for folks who don't know, so just like Jared was explaining, but to kind of look, if I could articulate a 3D model of a thunderstorm, it's when it drops a lot of cold air down the middle and then pushes out, like dropping a rock into water, and then you kind of get like a emanating epicenter out, and that's wind, and wind is wind. So it happens all the time where people mistake microburst damage or macroburst damage for tornado damage, because it leaves a lot of the same fingerprints. There are some distinct differences about it, but I mean, it could take down trees, power lines.
Yep. Absolutely, and so we can't be messing with that too much. Taking a look at some of the let me see if any of the stations around there have updated. Don't really have much in the way of updated observations out of there. I will say that the winds continue to, the winds are about 15 miles an hour out of the southeast at Charlotte Douglas right now. So southeast of 20, actually, I sit corrected. So again, we have a little bit the vertical profile of the wind. There's still a little twist to it. So we want to be watching that closely with the line.
It's 10:30. I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. That's Jared Smith in Charleston, South Carolina. You're watching live severe weather coverage from the Carolina Weather Group, streaming on the Carolina Weather Net and on the friends and family social platforms of the Carolina Weather Group, including Jared's own Charleston Weather. We've been following what has been a very, very busy day of severe weather here in the Carolinas with ongoing flash flood situations across Western North Carolina. Let's just pop up right now on the screen. As we're kind of doing this bottom of the hour reset, we have numerous green polygons on your screen. These are flash flood emergencies, or excuse me, flash flood warnings, but we do have one, if not two, flash flood emergencies, if I'm not mistaken. Flash flood warnings are serious, folks, but when they amp it up to a flash flood emergency, you know that it is imminently life-threatening, and that's why evacuations have been underway in portions of Hayward County along the Pigeon River, which is about 20 feet, or a little shy of 20 feet or so last we checked. Now, we also had numerous damage reports come in earlier today from likely tornadoes or severe thunderstorms as well. And those have been, it's always funny, Jared. The tornado warnings are the ones that get the wall-to-wall coverage on TV. It's the ones that people tune in for. You can track the cell. It's minute-by-minute drama. These tornado warnings, they come and go really fast, relatively speaking. I mean, I don't know how many of them we had today. It had to be 24 or more.
I got to find the count.
Yeah, but these flash flood warnings, I mean, this is multiple counties of people right now who are either dealing with oncoming water or monitoring for oncoming water. And it doesn't make compelling wall-to-wall coverage for 3 days in a row. So it gets very easy to forget about this. But that's why we're sitting here right now. There's nothing to track except rising water.
Yep, and that rising water is going to affect a lot more people than a tornado will. And that's just it's just a much broader impact. And it's a slower burn, too. Keep in mind that all the water's got to go somewhere, and it's going to take a little while. We're looking at the Pigeon River here at Canton, and again, if you're in the town of Canton right now, there's a flash flood emergency for your town, and you're being asked to evacuate. And the Pigeon River is in major flood stage. It has gone very quickly into major flood stage as a result of the rains this afternoon. So again, a very serious situation here along the Pigeon River. At Canton. Here's the French Broad near Marshall. I mean, the forecast is going to scrape major flood stage. It's going looks just right at the edge of that. So it's not there yet, but it's expected to get there. Probably as soon as tomorrow morning. So again, river flood warnings are going to go into effect. We have flash flood warnings all over the place. Flash flood emergency, as I mentioned. So. Again, please be listening for these warnings and be ready to move to higher ground if that comes up to be an issue. Now, we have a new advisory on Fred.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know what this matters, but we do have a new advisory from Fred.
Yeah, and just real quick, I think it, because the center position still does matter in that, as the center moves away, we'll start to see this begin to wind down. And so, the max sustained winds at 30 miles an hour. I mean, it's not the deepest low in the world, 1,009 millibars, 29.80 inches. Not really a big deal, but those are interesting things for nerds like us. But where they've got it right now, they've got it about 135 miles southwest of Charleston, West Virginia, 395 miles southwest of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Give a general idea of the landmarks that WPC is using, which is kind of interesting. But this is going to go up. This is basically going to go up the spine of the Appalachians over the next couple days, and is going to become non-tropical. It's going to go through the extratropical transition here over the next couple of days. But all that being said, it just means it picks up fronts, right? And so that doesn't change the impacts. It just changes the meteorological characteristics of it. But
you know what we should do? While
certainly,
we're over here?
Yeah.
Let's look at the rest of the tropics, folks. So Fred's on his way out. Then we've still got Grace, who, last I checked, is going to head towards Mexico over the Yucatan Peninsula. And then, Jared, remind me how to say this. It's not what I think.
Henri.
It's
French. Henri.
It's French.
It's French.
All right. I just wanted to say Henry with an I.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about this storm, although the cone doesn't have it making landfall in the U.S., I think by the time we get to Friday, if you're a surfer, you got great surf off the Carolina coast. If you're a swimmer, watch for those rip currents, because we're going to have a hurricane off the coast of the Carolinas on Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that rip current risk is certainly something that we want people to be, very cognizant of. This summer's still very much a thing with us. People still going to the beach, still very warm. Going to be in the 90s towards the coast later this week. So certainly want people to be aware of that. But yeah, surf's up. That is for sure. Thankfully, I don't know if there's any thankfulness really here. Grace is not going to be a weather concern for us. The ridge is going to keep it, as James mentioned, further south. It's leaving Jamaica tonight. It's going to go over and drop some money in a tax-free account in the Cayman Islands, and then it's going to strengthen to hurricane strength and hit the Yucatan Peninsula, and then emerge back into the Bay of Campeche and make one more landfall on the mainland of Mexico before it's all said and done. So Grace came through Haiti a day after a 7.2 earthquake. So, again, the Greater Antilles have had significant problems with tropical systems in this young season, and that has continued with Grace. If there's one bit of good news, it's that the Hurricane Center has no additional identified areas for development over the next 5 days. That can change. It's August. It's late. It's getting into late August, getting close to that peak of the season. But we're going to take any respite we can get. That is for sure. This time of year, and again, I think we've had some close brushes. We've had Elsa recently. Now we're dealing with Fred. And the thing that I'll remind everybody, especially if you live in a coastal area, is to keep an eye on the tropics and make sure that your hurricane plans are up to date, and make sure that you know where your evacuation zones are, what your evacuation routes are, and that you're reviewing that with your family. Because this is that time of year where things can change on a dime and get very, very busy on us.
Matter of fact, we've got
already
the
seen that
classic climate curve here.
Yeah,
I shouldn't have clicked on it. There it is. September 10th is when it peaks on average.
Yep,
and we are here.
Yep. So. So there's little peaks and valleys and plateaus there, but but again, folks, this is this is a busy time of year, weather-wise for us in the Southeast, and that's comes with the territory. So again, the best thing you can do for yourself and for your family is to be prepared. It's a lot easier to prepare now than it is when you have a storm bearing down on you. So I definitely urge that. Plenty of bottled water out there, plenty of supplies. I was at Home Depot this past weekend. No shortage of batteries, no shortage of things that you could pick up. If you're going to do that generator, now's the time. And I will urge you to, if you have not already done so, get vaccinated against COVID-19. If you are called for an evacuation. it's an important thing to do.
Yes, I cut you
If-
off. You were
if
about to
you-
make a very great justification.
Yeah, and we don't, and and we say that because if you have to evacuate and you have to go and you have to travel and you have to be outside of your bubble, because we got plenty of you, I'm sure, out there who have underlying health conditions or something that you got to be very cognizant of. You want to make sure that you've got that vaccine and that you're protected against COVID as best as you can. Fortunately, we have a variant going around, the Delta variant. And I know that it seems inescapable at this point. I realize that, hey, wait, nerd, get back to the weather. But if you do have to evacuate, you want to take as many risks off the table as you can. And one big risk you can take off the table very easily and for free is to get that COVID-19 vaccination done. And keep in mind that there's 2 shots with these. So the sooner you can start it and get that nailed down, the better, because you don't want to be rushing to try and get vaccinated, because again, it takes 2 weeks after the fact for the second shot for it to fully take effect. So you don't want to be rushing this when you have a storm bearing down on you. So something to keep in mind if you haven't already done so. It's no time like the present.
Yeah, plenty of hurricane season left. If you need,
put it mildly.
If you're looking for a motivation. We have a flash flood warning being continued for Hayward County. Now, this is where we had the emergency. So I want to actually pull this copy up because this is a continuation of that flash flood emergency. So I want to make sure people are following along with us here. Now, this is being issued by the National Weather Service for Central Hayward County until 2:15. And I don't think that's updated yet because that still says as of 8:30. So let me just read it.
Yeah, I've got it over here.
At 10:40,
so flash flood yeah, go ahead.
At 10:40, the Pigeon River stream gauge at Canton crested at 19.8 feet. That was as of 8:15. We've been showing you that graph. The flood wave peak has passed Canton and is currently working through Clyde. Therefore, while significant flooding, major flood levels are decreasing slowly in Canton, new areas of significant flooding downstream from Clyde to Lake Waterville are expected to develop and continue over the next several hours. Do not let your guard down and continue to heed all guidance from local officials, as it will take quite some time for floodwaters to fully reside. Significant rainfall totaling 4 to 7 inches was observed across Haywood County, especially in the Pigeon River headwaters south of Canton. This is producing a significant and life-threatening flood wave moving down the river. So, what's that term they use? Flood wave. So that is like, I'm going to use a really bad analogy, but I think it's going to help get the point across if you're unfamiliar with what that is. It's like a snake ate a mouse, and it's going to come in the front end of the snake and digest it. And so the snake, which is normally like this, is going to balloon up in parts where it has eaten its dinner. And so you're going to have this wave of water that is going to swell the river up. And then while it's doing that, you might be standing at one point looking at it, right? So the river comes up where you're standing, and then the river goes back down. Well, while it's going down at point A, further downstream at point B, it's now coming up because that excessive amount of rainfall is being digested by the watershed. There's my full circle explanation.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. That makes sense. So yeah, if
Probably
you're in
a
any
better
of
way
these
to do
areas, I mean, hey, it works on the fly, right? Regardless, if you're in any of these areas, and keep in mind, floodwaters do have snakes in them. So, I mean, it's not exactly, you don't want to be playing in this either.
I mean, we don't kid.
It's going to be moving
they're
very
not clean.
No, floodwaters aren't clean, and they move very quickly, and they can knock you down in no time. So we want people to stay out of this as best as possible. If you're in this area, Haywood County Emergency Management is requesting residents near the Pigeon River, including in Canton and Clyde, if you've not already done so, evacuate to higher ground immediately. The shelter is at Tuscola High School. So that is from Haywood County Emergency Management via the National Weather Service. Flash flood emergency. The worst of it is past Canton, but it is still a very precarious situation now heading towards Clyde, and we'll head into Lake Waterville. So again, a very serious situation unfolding here over the next few hours as the flash flood emergency continues.
Until 2:15.
at least until 2:15, maybe longer.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I mean, again, they have to put. We have a tornado warning. So we have a new tornado warning. This is
Northern
this
Iredale
is
and
for
Alexander counties.
Yep.
Very, very full
All right,
circle
so
on how much of my day has gone.
yeah, pretty much. So yeah, let's start talking about this tornado warning. We have it up on the terminal Doppler.
I'm going to toss to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to see where Dan Whitaker's at while you do that.
Yeah, do that. I'm going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to switch to the GSP radar. And what we'll do here is we'll put the let me it's going to take a second for me to reload the GSP radar. And again, unfortunately, we don't have a really good look at this just by nature of it's just not a good spot for radar. But the Weather Service folks certainly know what they're doing on this, so we want to make sure that we are getting y'all everything that you need to stay safe. So here it is. Here is your tornado warning, Taylorsville, hidden night, just north of Stony Point into Love Valley here. And again, this is not a very easy. Let me do the storm motion from the warning here to see if I can't clean some of this up a little bit. This is not an easy one to pick out by any stretch of the imagination. We're looking about 6,600 feet into the storm. I'm going to switch to the Charlotte TDWR here. And I'll get rid of my clear that out. This is a good way for me to run two radars at the same time here. So here's the TDWR. And again, unfortunately, what we're dealing with the terminal Doppler is that we got a big blockage. We got a big blockage right here. But your tornado is probably going to be right in here. Let me do the storm relative velocity here. I think, yeah, so let's see. 6 miles northeast of Taylorsville, 5 miles west of Love Valley. So I think they're talking about this guy right here. They might be talking about this too. But this
that blockage makes it hard.
The blockage makes it difficult. And James, is there a where is the WFO handoff near here?
You're going to be coming. So right now, this is still GSP, and then you're going to end up in Roanoke, Blacksburg.
Okay, so we'll see if Blacksburg extends a tornado warning north from this too. Just keeping an eye out. We're keeping an eye on both, but regardless, generally in here, and there it is. So there's Blacksburg's version of the tornado warning right there. So I
think it's going to be out of Iredale real fast.
Yeah, it's moving at northeast at 50 miles an hour. So again, if you're getting this warning now, if you're getting this warning, you got to act very quickly to protect yourself. Go into the lowest floor of an interior room, interior room of a site-built structure, hallway, closet, good places to go. Bathrooms are great. If you have a bathroom in an interior room, the plumbing can act as a bit of a roll cage to keep you safe. This tornado is near Love Valley, or 9 miles northeast of Taylorsville. So again, this thing has been hauling the mail. And again, we're looking from the terminal Doppler here, but we're going to run out of room on that. We look from GSP, it's really not too. I mean, we're not seeing much here. Let me, James, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new instance here, and I'm going to go and try and I'm going to try and see if I can pick this up a little bit better on Blacksburg. If y'all give me just a second here. Let me just tweak that. Do it live, right? Isn't that what they say? Let's see here. And I want to switch to. We're going to switch to Blacksburg here, and it's in Virginia. So FCX. Let's see if I can get a better view from KFCX. Again, we're not in the best radar spot in the country, to put it mildly here. But if we can switch on the velocity display here, yeah, you can kind of see a little bit better. Yeah, might see if I can't stick with this a little bit. Yeah, there's your circulation right there. So it's kind of it still looks broad from here. Again, we're looking 7,000 feet into the storm from here. So again, we do not have a good look at this, but you have a broad circulation here, very near Love Valley. This is going to jump northward here shortly into Wilkes County. The far eastern part of Wilkes County might clip some of Yadkin County, and get into Allegheny County a little down the road again. And this is going to take in parts of I-77. This takes in I-77 roughly from, I don't have a good place at the beginning of the polygon, but I-77 around Arlington up towards, there's really not a lot of we'll just say I-77 is 74. How about that? I-77 to 74 could be in the line of fire of this thing. And again, this is moving very quickly. It's moving, it's moving northeast at 50. So again, if you got the warning on your phone, if you got alerted here, what we're going to ask you to do is one, act quickly on that warning. Go to your safe spot. Put helmets on the kids. Wear closed-toed shoes as you get into that safe spot. Just in case there's damage, you don't want to put yourself in harm's way. Afterward, again, these are going to be fast-moving storms, and I don't know why I don't have a polygon on this particular. That's interesting. Go back here, we can see the polygons here, and again, we just don't have a good look, really, from any of the radars. Blacksburg is giving us a little bit better look as far as where the circulation might be near Love Valley, but this is also very difficult to point out. So
the
again,
bad radar spot.
Yeah, it's just no good, and so we'll put a storm track on this. This will put it in Rhonda in about 20 minutes, the town of State Road in about 30 minutes. And again, you can see that speed. It's going to be across, by the time the next hour comes along, it's going to be well across the Virginia border. So that's what we're dealing with this particular area of rotation here. And looking at some of the, we don't have a lot of observations in the way of this, so it's going to be very difficult to really say what's happening here with any certainty. We're probably, if this thing, this is so far from the radar, if this starts lofting debris, we've got a serious problem because it's lofting debris very high up. So the typical correlation coefficient, when we're not seeing that, which is good, if we do end up seeing it, that means we've got a fairly serious situation going on, just because the beam is hitting so high that the correlation coefficient ends up picking up pits of debris around 7,000 feet. You've got a fairly substantial circulation doing damage there. But we do not have that. That is not happening right now. Seems very broad, but it's enough given the environment that we have, given the potential for wind damage and just the overall setup again with this rain band that is moving through in association with Fred. We don't want to take any chances with this. Let me give me just a second here. I'm going to check a couple of the parameters up in this area.
Looking at wind estimates right now associated with this 60-mile-per-hour radar estimated winds coming through places like Love Valley right now in northern Iredell County, and then into southern Wilkes County as well. And, that's a part of that same couplet area that Jared was just showing you. But again, whether there's a tornado on the ground or not, we got plenty of wind for sure here. And it looks like this thing's going to be right on the county line right now.
Yeah, and again, moving northeast at 50 miles an hour, it's certainly conceivable that this is already crossed there. We're getting updates as soon as we can from the radar, and that's been helpful. But again, the radar is a representation of what has already happened. It is not a representation of what will happen. So something to keep in mind there. And I think the other thing to keep in mind too is that we see those 60-mile-an-hour winds, and again, because we're looking 7,000 feet into the in the storm, we don't know how much of those are mixing down to the ground. And so we're really not clear on how much of that is actually making it to the ground. And so that's where ground truth and storm reports from spotters, where that will be certainly very beneficial over the next little while as we continue to track this tornadic circulation near Love Valley. And this is 243. I have not gotten an update from this. Oh, note to self, James, hit the forward button.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Hit the forward button. All right. There's your polygons. And again, you're just not making out much on this. We usually like to use this normalized rotation product to kind of show you like what's happening with that. We're not, the radar signature is marginal, but it's enough for the Weather Service to consider a warning here. And it's also possible that given the environment, given the atmosphere, and given what's already happened today, there may be, just an abundance of caution here, which is commendable.
Yeah.
But you're certainly not seeing your classic hook. You're certainly not seeing some of the things that you would be looking for with this. Again, it's a very fast moving storm, very transient. That's the other thing too. Tropical tornadoes up and down. I mean, it lickety split between radar sweeps. You can't. You can't. It's a hard thing to. It's a hard thing to keep track of. Given that, again, we're moving out of range of the terminal Doppler here. So this is Blacksburg is probably going to be as good as it gets on this. Looking at GSP, again, this is pretty noisy. I'll put the storm relative mask on it. Maybe you can see. I mean, it's just
Raleigh,
really hard.
But I think Blacksburg's gonna be your best bet. It's just within that kind of. I'm sure there's a technical term for this, but kind of where the junk data starts coming in, right about in here from Blacksburg,
right?
Just inside of that.
Yeah, we're just inside the technical term being the range folding there. It's where where the velocities, basically the radar can't determine what the velocities are coming back from that. They have sophisticated algorithms that can help declutter a lot of that. But there's a certain point with all radar beams that the pulse repetition frequency it comes into play, and it comes back and you've exceeded the ambiguous velocity. The radar does not know, it cannot measure the winds at that distance, and so again, there's algorithms that can help with that, but this is an inevitable part of radar meteorology that we just have to live with, and we just do the best we can with it. So again. Roughly north of Love Valley at this point. Again, plenty of straight line wind that could be mixing down to the surface. I mean, 60, 65 miles an hour, but that's about 6,700 feet up above the radar level. So that's, so just give or take there, but certainly above the radar level there, we could see. So there, and again, if I had to guess where the circulation is, it's north of the county line now. Jonesville, I would certainly in the next 15 minutes, I would be getting in a shelter. I'd be there now if you're in Jonesville, or very close to being ready to go and ready to be hunkered in up in Jonesville. Further south of Love Valley too, I'm also seeing on Blacksburg a little broad rotation there as well, and so we might want to. So certainly Love Valley, I would stay. You're still in the warning here from GSP. And when we look at the storm relative product from GSP, it's certainly, again, not as well defined. Certainly
it wouldn't be the first time today we got training tornado warnings. Just saying.
No, and certainly not. And that's a common thing with this. Again, we have training cells. We have one line of storms that is moving eastward very slowly. The individual cells within that line are moving north. As we were talking about earlier, if you were with us earlier, we were talking with Dan Whitaker, who has been out chasing some of these. We're not sure where, we're not sure where he's at. I think he's probably driving north to intercept these right now. But But we were talking to him earlier, and we were noticing that some of these storms were becoming a little bit more discreet, and that circulation south of Love Valley seems to be tightening a little bit. So certainly right around Love Valley, I would stay in your shelter. This certainly seems like if there's going to be anything here, Love Valley is going to be it. There's your, and again, we're looking high up, but there's your winds. The green is going towards the radar, and the red is going away from the radar. And so there's your circulation right there. There's a circulation right there. Go to reflectivity, you're really not going to see a whole heck of a lot. But velocity, we're actually seeing a pretty decent mesocyclonic signature here.
11 o'clock. You're looking live at Charlotte, North Carolina, Bank of America Stadium from WeatherStem. And Jared, why don't you give everybody, if you wouldn't mind, a little 11 o'clock reset for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Jared Smith. That's James Brierton, Carolina Weather Group. It's 11 o'clock. We are currently in live tornado coverage. We have a tornado warning for Iredell, Alexander, Surrey, Wilkes, and Yadkin counties in North Carolina. This goes until 11:15 p.m. And so we have tornado warnings mainly because of a boundary between the Weather Service office in Greenville, Spartanburg, and the Weather Service office in Blacksburg, Virginia. So that's why there's two tornado warnings on here, but it's really for one cell. And really the area that we're looking at right now is south of Love Valley, which seems to be tightening up. We're in kind of a radar no man's land here. This is very difficult for us to see specific features. We're about 65. We're looking at 7,000 feet up or so. But what we are seeing here is we certainly are seeing evidence of a circulation approaching Love Valley. And again, this could be tilted a little bit. Given the storm motions and everything there. So if you're in towns such as, if you're in Love Valley, if you are in the town of Rhonda, Jonesville, along the Business 21, Highway 21 fork here, I-77 by Jonesville, up towards, this is a little beyond the warning, but roughly towards the I-74 interchange there. This is certainly a situation that you're going to want to keep a very close eye on. We may have some, we may have had some transient rotation show up here as well. South of 421, not really seeing much right now. Certainly the most prominent signature on radar is south of Love Valley. Taking a little wider view real quick. Here's your tornado watch. Again, we have a tornado watch until 2 a.m. or until the Weather Service cancels it for your location. Generally is the line of storms, which we'll put here up on the radar here. As this line of storms moves east, we're going to see this tornado watch continue to get trimmed back. There is going to be a continued risk for tornadoes here over the next little bit. We still have some decent tornado parameters in place in that neck of the woods, and so we're going to need. So we're certainly going to be watching that closely as time goes on. Where are my? Oh yeah, there's my warning overlay here. So
up for you.
We
do have a live look at uptown Charlotte from WeatherStem, where we expect this heavy rain to move in any moment now. Lots of lightning being seen off in the distance, not at this particular moment in time. But we also do have flood advisories now. The Weather Service just kind of like blanketed these all along the line, right up and down 77. So Iredell, Mecklenburg, including Charlotte, Gaston, Lincoln, Catawba. So we have those flood advisories that are kind of out almost as a like preliminary, hey, this line's moving in and we know it's going to pond and pool water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a good call, because again, behind this line, we've seen, this line has produced 1 to 3 inches of rain in a very short period of time. It has been a flash flood producer. There was flash flood warnings posted. I believe we have them now, directly behind the line when it came through. James, we had one at some point. Was that the Catawba one, or
Catawba
further south?
Yeah, Catawba County, which includes Hickory there on your screen. That is the furthest to the east. Our wall of flash flood warnings come. So the advisories paint up to and through the I-77 corridor, the advisories, which means we're getting a little bit of flooding, folks, as opposed to a warning, which means we're getting a lot of flooding. Those flash flood warnings, of course, as you were just pointing out, come as far east as Catawba County and then all the way to the state line with Tennessee.
Yep. So again, we're gonna watch this Charlotte webcam looking out over Uptown, which seems to have just had an error, but it's back now, so that's good. Got it. So we're going to watch that for the people flying in and out. There's an airport weather warning for Charlotte Douglas. So there's, which is just an indication that there's some nasty weather moving into the airport here. But again, the main area of concern that we're watching right now is this area of circulation that's moving out of Alexander County. This is going to be going into, looks like it's going to be getting into Wilkes County here. This is right over Love Valley right now. Again, the normalized rotation product is not really a big help right now because again, with tropical tornadoes, you typically see very shallow circulations and they don't extend very high up into the atmosphere. Typically with a more typical supercellular arrangement, we would probably be able to get a pretty good signature out of this. With it being shallow, and we only have radar coverage to about 6,500, 7,000 feet here, it becomes much harder to determine, what exactly is going on. So some good news for Alexander and Iredell. The tornado warning is expiring. So in good shape there at this point. Still this little bit of broad rotation that's moving out of Love Valley. They have allowed the warning to expire at 11:15 there. The warning is going to likely continue. There it is. Yeah. So so again, we still have this little circulation kind of straddling the Alexander and
Iredell County line.
The Iredell County line. Yeah, I was just making sure I had my bearings right. This is about to come out of there. This is going to be crossing Highway 421 probably in the next 10 or 15 minutes. So again, if you're on 421, I would strongly recommend anywhere between, say, North Wilkesboro and Yadkinville, just to be on the safe side. I'm paying a wide berth here. I would pause your travel if possible and find a safe place. James, we have a new camera. Looks like.
We have a couple of cameras we're looking at, both from WeatherStem. Here's Rock Hill, South Carolina. They're going to get in on this line too. And then we have Charlotte Bank of America Stadium, also from WeatherStem.
Yep. And we'll take a quick look at Charlotte here on kind of the wide view here. Obviously in the middle of that tornado watch, here's your rain. Here's your rainfall. It's continuing to kind of just the individual cells are moving north. The line itself is moving east. And this will get through the Charlotte area. If you're in Gastonia, Lincolnton, your big rain is over. You're done. Obviously, there's going to be a little more time before the Weather Service cancels the tornado watch for your location, but the big rain is over for you, and that's good news for sure. Take a quick look at just the rain that's fallen over the last 12 hours. Let me the sampler here, and you can see estimates of 2.20 inches over here by Lake Lure. We have closer to 4 and 5. Significant flash flooding underway. We've been talking a lot about the Pigeon River tonight near Canton, getting into Clyde. Flash flood emergency there along the Pigeon River. So again, evacuation orders issued for those towns. We definitely want you all getting into higher ground there as soon as you can. The immediate concern is the tornadic circulation that is coming out of Love Valley here. And again, we don't have a great look at this. I'm going to be as blunt as possible with this. We don't have an awesome look at it. This is going to be a hard one to pin down because these rotations typically are so shallow that it's just very difficult to find these things. So, so again, the movement on this storm is northeast at 50. This is 10 miles southeast of Wilkesboro. It's moving northeast at 50. So again, we're gonna want to keep an eye on that closely. Jonesville, Rhonda, those towns, Highway 77 or Interstate 77 near Jonesville. You're gonna want to keep a close eye on this, as this circulation could get very close to you. And if it does, you're going to want to make sure that you are in a safe place. Lowest floor, interior room, bathroom, closet, hallways are good. Just get away from the outside, get away from outside walls, get away from windows, be in good shape. You'll be fine. Tropical tornadoes, typically short-lived, up and down. But that's good because it doesn't last long, but that's bad because sometimes it can come through. You can get it and we won't even see it on the radar. So something to keep in mind. Here's a look at Charlotte here again. James, we should be seeing some action here pretty soon.
I would think so. Either
Charlotte.
that or this other angle back towards the skyline as well. We also have a camera from Weatherstem that's in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we don't have a warning for Mecklenburg or York, but that line is approaching. So we have just that one tornado warning that's behind you there for Surrey, Wilkes, and Yadkin.
Yep.
But we're watching this line that we're expecting to come marching on into much of the Charlotte metro area here in the next really moments or so, where I am in South Charlotte. I can already hear the rumble of thunder right now in Pineville. Down towards Fort Mill. So we've got some late night thunder here too. People might be, if you had maybe come home and weren't watching us, you were watching something else. Thunder's now waking you up to the fact that we've got this storm moving on in.
Yeah, and hopefully that's all this is. Hopefully this is just sleep and rain. Hopefully this is just a nice little thunderstorm that comes through. You're gonna have some heavy downpours with it, potentially some flooding. We'll hope that it doesn't get much more than that. But yeah, based on the locations of the cameras there that you had loaded there, I think into the radar, I think that we're going to see at least some rainfall, maybe some lightning come through there real soon. Again, what I've got behind me, I've got the velocity display from the. Well,
I think they just dropped it.
Yep, they just dropped it. Fare thee well, tornado warning. Again, this is gonna. Hey, no skin off my back. That's
just like
that's
that.
the best
gone.
news that we could give people. Yep, and just like it's like that scene in South Park where they have all the money in the bank account and it's gone. There is your lightning.
Yeah, let's check out some lightning here.
Lake Norman.
Is Lake Norman from Resort Cam near Mooresville, and let me move this locator bug for just a second. If you can see it, you see that flag up there in the top right. Get an idea of the winds right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's no joke. That's good wind there.
So we do have a number of coverage cameras to help us with our coverage here in the Charlotte area. This one from Resort Cams, and then again we have a number of them in the Charlotte area. Here's a look towards Uptown, and a look in the University City area. And again, we have that camera in Rock Hill as well. So that whole I-77 corridor is about to be awoken to the fact that this line is coming on through. And we'll keep an eye on whether or not the Weather Service decides to issue any other warnings along this line. And we do still have, of course, also that camera in Uptown at Bank of America Stadium. Mm-hmm. Couple different perspectives, but no tornado warnings to tell you about here at 11:13.
Yeah, and that's a good place to be. But again, we have plenty of flash flood warnings that that certainly need our attention, especially in Western North Carolina. And so again, if you're in these flash flood warnings, you should be looking for higher ground. Certainly, don't try to travel, especially at night. It's impossible to tell how deep floodwater is at night. So we urge you, turn around, don't drown, and that. Sometimes that seems like a little. It's like, okay, you're probably not going to drown yourself in certain floodwater. This is what they mean by turn around, don't drown. This is exactly it. We've had water rescues today. We've had all sorts of, it's been a busy day. I think the one bit of good news is that so far we have no reports of fatalities and we have no reports of injuries. And so that is a very good thing. It's a very good sign, and we hope that that trend continues. But again, we don't have a full accounting of the situation yet. We're probably not going to have a full accounting of it for a couple of days. So, that's just something that we're going to have to monitor as we go. But yeah, we're starting to see some of that rain move in now near Bank of America Stadium. There, you can see some of the lightning, and you see the raindrops coming down on the camera here, and you start to see that it looks a little. Visibility is dropping fast, and again, this is a tropical downpours. Your visibility is going to drop just like that. So, again, if you're traveling tonight and you get caught in one of these, slow it down. Make sure you get your low beams on. Treat it like fog, because the visibility impacts are going to be very much similar there. But yeah, you can definitely see that visibility really dropping fast from Bank of America Stadium.
I could just sit and watch this, or I guess I can go look out the window. I can hear this.
You could, yeah. I mean, I've got this. This is all I've got down here in Charleston. So, certainly something that we'll keep an eye on that a little bit here. What we're gonna do right now. It's 11:15. So James, I think what we'll do is we'll get this another 15 minutes. We'll keep an eye on this as it gets to the Charlotte Metro. And if things remain tame, we'll go ahead and sign off for the night. And we'll continue to keep you updated through our ticker and the Carolina Weather Net.
We'll leave the net on all night.
Yeah. Carolina Weather Net will stay on all night. We'll also have, if you also follow Carolina Weather Group on Twitter, flash flood, tornado, and severe thunderstorm warnings for all the Carolinas are broadcast on our Twitter feed as soon as they're issued. So something to keep an eye on. Oh, wait a second. What the heck is that? Hey, James, can you zoom in on that a little bit? Yeah.
I'm putting it into motion so I can get a sense of if it's spinning or bursting.
Yeah, it's a very subtle. Again, you see how subtle and quick these things can.
This is what we're looking at, folks.
Little kink in the line here. So again, this is looking from GSP. I have the TDWR.
I should change it to Columbia. Let's see what Columbia's got.
TDWR has a TVS, so there's that.
It gets a little jumpy.
I don't know. This is the issue with this. Is that you could make a case on any single radar scan to put out a polygon, and you would be probably justified. This is just very difficult. These are notoriously difficult. But I will say that when I look at from the terminal Doppler, there's something that is getting close to 521 north of Lancaster in South Carolina. A little bit of a couple areas of shear of gate to gate shear here that we'll keep an eye on over the next few minutes. I am not, and obviously again we'll see how GSP and Columbia handle this. If they choose to warn, keep in mind that we are getting a little more stable at the surface. The better tornado parameters are now moving north of the area, and surface stability taking hold after the heating of the day is lost. Still plenty of moisture, but get a little inversion that develops, and you can still see elevated rotation, which is certainly all you really see from a radar in the first place. You have to make the inference that the environment is conducive enough to issue a warning. Or the rotation is strong enough to where it would break through. So something to keep in mind, but we still have a tornado watch here. And so we need to keep a close eye on these for the foreseeable future.
Good amount of lightning with this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Good amount of lightning.
Yeah, and certainly you could see that it might be kicking up a little bit too as time goes on. And you look at this Bank of America camera. I mean, it's very much very hard to see really much of anything. Going too far, you're definitely seeing that rain pick up. I believe that's the Carolina Panthers practice facility there.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is.
Yep. Cool. All right. Yeah, I still know my Charlotte, so that's good. But you don't see much, but you're struggling to see much else beyond it.
Yeah.
So there's so it's raining hard, potentially sideways. You got some good, you got some decent rain kind of up here. That looking at the flag, still waving pretty nicely. So probably still some decent wind gusts there over at Lake Norman.
Yeah, let's tour these cameras again, shall we? We have no tornado warnings or anything to tell you about right now, but wow, look at that lightning right there from the Sub Resort Cam, South Carolina Educational Television Weather Stem, showing us more lightning right now coming through Rock Hill in York County, and a couple different cameras to show you in the Charlotte area. So, this is that WCCB camera over by Bojangles Stadium looking north back towards Uptown. You actually saw the buildings there. You actually could see the skyline the last time we came to this camera. You can no longer do that. Here is UNC. I think this camera will actually might need a little refresher. Maybe a little refresher. But again, I think most of the action right now is coming right into that Uptown area, and that's why that Independence camera and this Uptown camera right now are showing those heavy rains of lightning and the visibility decreasing.
Yep, absolutely. And what I'm doing, I'm actually there we go.
Should be pouring outside my window in about a minute.
Yeah, it sounds about right. And again, looking at I'm looking at some of the satellite lightning data, and we definitely have seen some jumps here in the last few minutes as far as lightning activity goes. So and that's to be expected. It's been pretty consistent. Nothing too crazy here. Let's see. We have a new report of flooding in Iredell County, creek or stream out of banks, 5 miles east-northeast of Terrell. So a new flood report just came in there. Flood warning is now up for the French Broad near Hot Springs. So again, these are these river flood warnings that are coming across. So we're keeping an eye on pretty much. There's going to be a lot of flood warnings coming out. And if you're not under a flood warning right now, you may be put under one later because of things that happened, rain that fell from you, fell upstream from you. That water's got to go somewhere. Wow, look at that! You can't even see the Panthers practice.
Where'd the bubble go?
Yeah, the bubble's gone. So yeah, I mean that's so there's the squall has arrived in Uptown Charlotte. That is for sure. Yeah, that is nothing to sneeze at there. That's I'll tell you what, it's raining so heavily that the terminal Doppler is being very seriously attenuated right now. I can't get any reflectivity data past Uptown Charlotte. Any quality reflectivity data. So it's being very attenuated right now. So looking at GSP, just on my screen here, yeah, I mean it's pretty heavy rain. I mean that's the long and short of it.
I'm James Brierton in Charlotte. He's Jared Smith in Charleston. I might be James Brierton outside in Charlotte in a moment.
Well, I mean, be careful with that. There's a lot of lightning when thunder roars go indoors.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, I mean that was the skyline cam.
This was the skyline cam.
Yeah, that was the skyline cam. We had a good look at the skyline not more than 15 minutes ago, and it's gone. So it gives you an idea of just how dense this rain is. The good news is that it is, it's getting a move on. It's, it's pushing through. It does look like that we're seeing a decent easterly component of motion to the line, which is good news. And after the line gets through, your severe weather threat is going to drop markedly. In the Charlotte area. So the good news is that you're in the worst of it right now. If you're within this band right now, from Elkin down to Statesville, down I-77 into Charlotte, into Lancaster and Rock Hill, and Fort Mill. Fort Mill, actually, you're behind it. Actually, it's done for you in Fort Mill. So
there you go.
this is the worst of it. It'll move on. It's going to move on. It's going to get a move on, and you're going to be just fine tonight. So,
Man, matter of fact,
that is
Greensboro, Triad, Triangle, no tornado watch. So the last major metropolitan area for this tornado watch is the one we're in right now.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And certainly based on what I'm reading from SPC and given the overall downtick, I mean, we did have that tornado warning here a little bit ago, but we've not gotten any reports out of that. Now, it's always tricky to get reports this late at night too. You hope that people are hiding rather than trying to find a tornado in the dark. Generally speaking, not a good idea to try and find a tornado in the dark unless you really, really, really know what you're doing. And even those guys will say, don't try to find a tornado in the dark. So, no signs of any damage reports yet that I have seen come across. But again, there's still, there's still enough, still enough instability, still enough, illicity ahead of these storms where we could see one or two storms try and spin something up. But overall, looking a lot better than we did earlier. Today has been a very busy day for severe weather and flooding across the Carolinas, especially in the Western Carolinas.
Looks like the visibility coming back ever so slightly there. Uptown, still no sign of this camera could be anywhere.
Yeah.
This camera is at WCCB's television studios off of Independence near Bojangles. Looking, you should be able to see the skyline of Uptown Charlotte, and it hasn't yet to come back.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit. You can kind of see some of the lights in the distance kind of coming through, but you still you can't see much. So again, in about 5 minutes, barring any additional tornado warnings that keep us on the air, in about 5 minutes, we're going to go ahead and sign off here. I did want to note a new report that came in from Boone. Multiple vehicles. So flash flooding is ongoing in Boone, in downtown Boone.
Oh, we have got a camera right there. Hang on.
Yeah, let's get the camera out. Multiple images and videos of flash flooding ongoing in Boone with multiple vehicles with water above their tire lines. So we have flash flooding ongoing in downtown Boone right now.
Let's see if this camera is one that moves around by itself, turns around.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's stuck, but I don't know what it's looking at right now.
No, we definitely don't know what it's looking at.
Please hold. Oh, hang on. Okay.
There we go.
Here's King Street in Boone. Now, I'm not saying that the report is wrong. I'm just saying I can't see it from this angle.
Yeah, and we have some people asking. I think that this is probably okay. There's some questions now if it's near Boone Creek and maybe River Street or Howard Street, there where the flooding could be. It looks like King Street here
King Street downtown
seems to be fine. And for those of you watching from the Charleston Weather Facebook page, this is not King Street, Charleston downtown. This is King Street of Boone. So Charleston's fine. I just want to make sure that everybody understands Charleston's fine. We're going to see some rain coming through here maybe in the next little bit, but certainly nothing like they're seeing in North Carolina. Our King Street is probably going to be just fine throughout the night. We may see some rain redevelop in Charleston getting into tomorrow morning, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, so far so good from this vantage point. But again, this is one vantage point. Boone is a decent sized town, so we may very well have issues there. Still can't see. No, those are trees. It's coming back, kind of. Yeah, starting to get it back, and we're still very much. This is improved. This is improved. Yeah. This is better than where we were, but it's still, the visibility is still down.
Let me touch on something here that we have yet to touch on while we wait for this line to clear, the Charlotte Metro power outages. We have not talked much about power outages.
Oh, yeah, power outages.
Yeah, and I'm going to be looking at Duke Energy, and I apologize. I know there are other ones out there, but they service so much of this area of the Carolinas. So Buncombe County and Asheville, Customers without power right now, 7,800. Jackson County, North Carolina, 1,500. Henderson County, about 3,000 customers without power. McDowell, another 2,000. Another 1,000 or so in Mitchell. Even 500 so far here in Mecklenburg. I got to tell you, lower numbers than I would have anticipated. I'm sure that's not comforting right now to the 15,000 people in Western North Carolina cumulatively who don't have power, but a lot of these power outages, I'm trying to see if there's any one particular cluster. Good Luck, town of Good Luck is amongst an area that has about 2,000 outages right now. They're pretty scattered. They're pretty scattered. We're not looking at county-wide outages. We're looking at neighborhood-wide outages. What am I looking at here?
This is Boone. This is what prompted the flood report. This is Boone. This is from Austin Taylor, old friend of the show. Looking downtown Boone here, I'll clear this off. This is shared by the National Weather Service in Blacksburg here. There's your vehicle with the tire lines there, with the water up to the tire lines. There's another truck pretty decently submerged up to there. I don't know Boone very well, but it looks like this is the suspicion here, and I know that the Weather Service, from what I understand, is trying to get some additional confirmation on some of this right now from the local EM. But so all right, so Faculty Street from McDonald's to Holmes Drive, 321 from River Street to McDonald's, entirely of Highland Avenue and the Boone Mall, and I guess these are usual spots. So these are usual suspects here. So here's more. I mean, this water is moving too. I think again when we think, that whoa, that water is moving.
Wow.
So I'll definitely advise people that if you're again, this is exactly where turnaround don't drown comes from. So again, I want to, I think it's important to know that, that's where turnaround don't drown comes from. You only need 6 inches of water to lift a vehicle and make it move and move it. And so that is a lot more than 6 inches of water, and that is moving very quickly. So again, if you're in Boone tonight and you don't have to travel, especially down to, Faculty Street to Holmes Drive, River Street to McDonald's, 321, entire and Highland Avenue, apparently the entirety of it, near the Boone Mall.
Yes, Boone Mall. You know what? That keyed it for me. That is a flood spot. Yeah.
So Boone Mall, if you're anywhere around there, a good night to not travel. A good night to just stay put. I mean, it's 11:30 at night on a Tuesday. This is about as exciting as it gets at 11:30 at night on a Tuesday.
Which weather service shared that? Blacksburg?
Blacksburg, yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna get that out of Blacksburg. We'll get a look at that, and then but real quick, we're a little past 11:30 here, and again, the one bit of good news that we can report is that we don't have any active tornado warnings. Hopefully it stays that way. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye on this as the evening progresses. Again, if you're still within the tornado watch, you're going to be within that tornado watch until 2 o'clock, or if the Weather Service cancels you early, once the line comes through, your tornado threat is over. But we will still advise people to have your weather radios ready to go. Have your phones charged and make sure that they're set to do not disturb. Now, I know the new version of iOS makes some fixes for that, which is great, but that's all in beta right now. And so we'll be able to tell you something maybe a little bit different here in a few months. But for now, what we want you to do is just, make sure that you can receive those warnings, make sure you have redundant ways of getting those warnings, and that you know where your safe place is. Interior room on the lowest floor, Hallway, bathroom, closet. You just stay away from windows. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. If you do get that tornado warning buzz, the tornado threat is decreasing, but there is still a tornado watch. So, and before we go, James, I'll put this. I'll put the tornado watch back up, and what I'll do is I'll have it in relation to the line as well. Take the warnings off, and I'm going to go switch my view here, and here you can see that tornado watch stretches from Roanoke down to Columbia, South Carolina, basically in the I-77 corridor. So there is your tornado watch, and there's your line. There's your line of storms right now, stretching from roughly just south of Columbia through Charlotte. Going through Charlotte right now, we've had the webcams up, and stretching up into western parts of Virginia. Center of Fred is looks like it's roughly near Kingsport at this point. Kingsport is right on the border of Tennessee and Virginia here. That is on the Tennessee side, so we're going to say Kingsport, Tennessee. There's roughly your center of Fred there, and as this feeder band moves through, that's going to end your severe threat. So again, we have some flooding issues that we're contending with. If you receive a flash flood warning and you're given evacuation orders, go, especially if you're in the North Carolina mountains. This is going to be kind of a slow burn situation. You might be okay now, but this water has got to go somewhere. And as time goes on, this water may approach your location, and it could be a lot in a short amount of time. So please heed local emergency officials. Evacuation orders from local emergency officials, very important to do that tonight. But otherwise, getting Fred out of here tomorrow, get a chance to dry out a little bit. Still going to have some very humid air in place, especially near the coast. So still could have some downpours tomorrow, but the severe threat is beginning to diminish here a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to sit tight for just another moment or two, Jared, and wait for this line to cross on through Mecklenburg. You can see the camera there from WeatherStem. It hasn't quite done it yet. It's probably raining real good right now coming out of uptown Charlotte. Matter of fact, I think our UNCC camera is probably getting in on some of that now too. There's my OBS. I'll put the radar back up. And you can see, I was watching some of these kinks in this line too, as we obviously have been doing pretty intensely, but lots of lightning and thunder right now near uptown Charlotte. And I was even looking at some of the wind. Check out some of this wind. I mean, some of this is really strong. 56, 55 miles an hour in Waxhaw, Union County, North Carolina. 60 miles per hour on Providence Road. Let's go back over to the terminal Doppler so we can get a little bit more ground truth than those high up ones from Columbia, because that actually certainly lowers down a little bit. But still 50 mile per hour in Waxhaw, that's very strong.
It's certainly mixing down. I mean, it certainly seems like that we're getting some of those gusts mixing down, and as a result, you're going to get some. And keep in mind too that you have that some of these spots have had a lot of rain. It's going to soften the soil, and it won't take as much to bring trees down. So something to keep in mind as we go through this evening. So, I think at this point right now, I think we're at a good point. I'm gonna call it a night from my end down here.
Okay. I'm going to hang tight for another about 5 minutes or so until we get this line through Mecklenburg. That's my plan.
Cool.
I will let folks know. Of course, our Carolina Weather Net will go all night long. So you can find that streaming for free on the Carolina Weather Group YouTube channel. And so when Jared and I are not sitting here live, it will scroll the latest watches and warnings from the Weather Service. But until then, Jared, thank you for getting our coverage started and driving us through that coverage from Charleston tonight. And for those of us watching right now here in Charlotte, I'll hang out with you for a couple more minutes. Debbie asking, are we okay in Burke? There is no longer a tornado threat in Burke or really anywhere to the west of this line, but you're going to have a lot of water runoff in Burke for the next couple of days. So Depending on how you want me to answer, are we okay in Burke? That's a lot to unpack at this hour, Debbie, but no longer a threat of tornadoes, but obviously a lot of flooding that needs to still be watched. And as this line is now exiting the I-77 corridor, we can start to see the lights of uptown Charlotte coming back into view now on this camera from Weatherstone.
There he goes. There it goes. Good. I couldn't leave without seeing the skyline come back. So Charlotte is still there. Everything is good. And again, it's been a weird day. We've literally had it all. Flash floods, tornadoes, and an earthquake. So I am very ready to put August 17th, 2021 behind us. I don't know about you, but I'm certainly very ready to do that. So, but again, everybody,
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you all for watching. James is going to stick with you a little bit, and Jared Smith from Charleston signing off. And James, take it away.
Thank you, Jared. James Brierton here in Charlotte. I'm going to stick with you here until this line clears the metropolitan area in Charlotte. And what you're looking at right now is that line. It is not tornado warned. It is not severe thunderstorm warned. We do have a tornado watch that goes until 2 a.m. And so we just want to make sure that this line can get through a metropolitan populated area here in Mecklenburg before we return you over to regular scheduled programming on the Carolina Weather Net, which features that red ticker you're seeing on the top right part of your screen right now. Nothing going on in Kannapolis, Shawnee, I suppose. And just in the next few moments. So Kannapolis hasn't really started for you yet. Again, right now, this isn't severe, but it is strong. So the winds that we would anticipate coming into Kannapolis, Cabarrus County there, based on Doppler radar indications or terminal radar indications, about 20-30 miles an hour or so. Certainly pretty decently strong at this hour, but not as strong as we're seeing right now. A little bit further to the south, a couple little areas. Right now in the Ballantyne area, about 37, 40 miles an hour. Weddington, 45 miles an hour. Waxhaw, 50 miles per hour right now. And even down towards Jars, where we're seeing a lot of lightning returns. So this line is not severe by definition, which would constitute 60 miles per hour. But it is still certainly strong. And like we've been seeing throughout much of the day, it doesn't take much until we get a little bit of a spin up in the atmosphere there in order to give the Weather Service the confidence they need to issue a tornado warning. Hey, look at the top right of your screen. We can see uptown Charlotte coming back into view now. This view from Weatherstem near Bojangles Coliseum. As you can see, that line is now kind of exiting the uptown area. So the threat has now moved past uptown Charlotte. Right now, the heaviest of rain is going to be coming over areas just to the east of there, which would include UNCC. We'll switch that camera on over to UNCC from Weatherstem. You can see now much of the same visibility problems coming into effect there. Are we at a risk for flooding in Kannapolis? Not as big of a risk that we have up for portions of the mountains. We do have some flood advisories that are up right now. I know those include Mecklenburg County. Let me see here real fast if those include Cabarrus County. The flood advisories kind of were issued out ahead of this line. Right now, not so much for Cabarrus County, but the Weather Service does have that flood advisory in effect for Iredell and Mecklenburg counties. Again, we do have ongoing flooding. That's in the form of these green polygons that are in effect for so many of our mountainous counties, even some flood emergencies, again, in Hayward County. If you're just joining us, evacuations underway in portions of Hayward County because of ongoing river flooding. But we're watching right now this line, the strong line of thunderstorms pushing through the Charlotte area, should be out of Mecklenburg County in the next few moments or so. It has just passed I-77, which is right on in here, and is moving off to the north and to the east relatively slowly. And we do have a tornado watch that goes until 2 o'clock, but that tornado watch ends short of the triad, about in here or so, is where they expect that to expire at about 2 a.m. So triad and triangle, it doesn't hurt to have a weather radio on during the overnight hours, but you're not technically in that tornado watch that will go through the overnight hours. Again, camera at the bottom now from UNCC here in Mecklenburg County, watching this line. I'm down towards Matthews, so I can hear the rain pattering on the window where I am, and some of the thunder coming on through as well too. Let's see if we have any new storm reports here. I think even the computer is about ready to go to sleep after a very long day of coverage. So we're going to go ahead and refresh that. Storm reports, I expect we'll be learning more about as we go through tomorrow. The Weather Service right now is still so much of an active mode that they'll be turning around a lot of those as we go through the next day or so. We even know that the Weather Service will be going out to do storm survey assessments to look at damage caused by some of these storms to determine whether or not they were possible tornadoes, and if so, how strong. We've taken a look during our broadcast here tonight at several videos that showed those possible tornadoes seen across the Carolinas today, with the enhanced risk that the National Weather Service did ultimately end up issuing for much of the Carolinas. But again, the big story, once we get past a lot of this tornado threat and the wind threat, is going to be the ongoing flooding. Those are the green polygons on your screen right now. Those are flash flood warnings that are going to go through the overnight hours. And then we got to take all of that rain, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches of rain that fell across some of the mountain counties of North Carolina. And then we got to funnel that down all the tributaries during the creeks and the streams into the rivers. And then we're going to watch that come down the Catawba. We're going to watch that come down some of our other river basins until it eventually gets out to the ocean. So we're going to be watching for that over the next few days or so. So if you live along a river, let's talk about the Catawba, right? So it's going to come through Hickory, then it's going to curve down towards Charlotte. It's going to come through places like Mountain Island Lake, which is known to flood. It could be a day or two before we're watching for some of the rising water there along Mountain Island Lake. Even though the rain by then will be days old, we'll be keeping an eye on that. That's the type of situation that will be playing out. Carolina Weather Group will be back live tomorrow night, our weekly show at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about all things weather. We'll, of course, be talking about the aftermath of this storm. And no tornado warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings to tell you about right now, but we do have those flash flood warnings. Columbia right now continuing a flash flood warning for Lexington and Richland counties due to some ongoing flooding they're seeing there. And let's see if I can get you some more information about that one. That one I think is going to be new and popping up on the screen here in the next few moments. Of course, flash flood warning means rising water fairly quickly in primarily areas where flooding doesn't normally occur. So that flash flood warning for Lexington and Richland counties will go into 1:45 a.m. And the context there is Doppler radar continuing to indicate thunderstorms producing heavy rain. Up to 1 inch has already fallen, with additional 1 inch possible in the warned areas. And this would be locations including Columbia, West Columbia, Casey, St. Andrews, Pine Ridge, South Carolina State Fairground, West Columbia Riverwalk, 5 Points Riverbank Zoo, South Carolina State Farmers Market, Casey Riverwalk. So I think we're going to have that here on the screen for you the next few moments. But let's go down to Columbia. We haven't talked, honestly, had too much about Columbia. And so let's get a look at what's happening right now in Columbia. Here's a look at WeatherStem at the University of South Carolina. You can see some of those heavy rain coming down right now, which has led the Weather Service to issue that flash flood warning. And let's see if it's working. Last time I tried it, it didn't want to load, but we used to have a USGS camera that was kind of ground level. I think it's been discontinued due to funding, which is a shame because it was right there on Wally Street. All right, back to the sky we go. So again, we'll be watching. This is the type of thing, folks, where during the overnight hours, our Carolina Weather Net would be streaming a ticker across the bottom of the screen to let you know about those new issuances of flash flood warnings. And we'll have the Carolina Weather Net streaming all night long. We now have on the screen where this flash flood warning is in effect. Again, it does include a lot of downtown Columbia, Casey as well. And you can see Williams-Brice Stadium there from WeatherStem in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Even some lightning. even some lightning associated with this. Again, this is just a strong thunderstorm, but this is the type of effects we can see from a strong thunderstorm in addition to winds. And so that's why we're staying with you here on the Carolina Weather Net for the next 10 minutes or so as this line really kind of pushes on out from the I-77 corridor off to the east. Put this in motion for you and get a sense for the way some of this is moving. Some of the heaviest rains right now coming through Concord, Matthews, Mint Hill, and then again in the Columbia area as well. Uptown Charlotte, you're just about in the clear. You can also kind of see how slow this line is moving. It's moving north and east kind of simultaneously. The whole line is moving to the east, but the individual cells in motion within it kind of bubble up to the north. Great lightning strike right there. University of South Carolina in Columbia from WeatherStem and Williams-Brice Stadium. Certainly, reminder, if you can hear thunder, please go inside. Don't wait for a warning before seeking shelter from any thunderstorm. A warning does not have anything to do with lightning. A severe thunderstorm warning is issued for 60-mile-per-hour winds or 1-inch size hail. Lightning can be associated with any thunderstorm. Lightning can strike 30 miles away from the rain core it's associated with. So if you can hear thunder, just get inside. That's the best advice we can give you. Right now, this Columbia flash flood warning does technically make this the most east flash flood warning we have right now in the Carolinas, because the rest of them are up here in the mountains. The Hayward County one, of course, as we've been telling you, is a flash flood emergency. We haven't checked in a little while. Here's another look at Uptown Charlotte, where a lot of the visibility is coming back. We haven't checked the river gauge there in Hayward, so let's do that. We can see French Broad River in Marshall, 11.5 feet and climbing. Forecast to get just up against that 13-foot major stage. I do think we have a little bit of improvement. Hayward, Pigeon River in Canton, now down a little bit here. Looks like we're getting readings dropping a little bit faster than anticipated, about 13.5 feet, making it a minor flood stage, down from a major flood stage where we crested just shy of 20 feet. We do still have a couple other gauges that remain, again, in that moderate to major flood stage. Some of them coming down. Right now, I only see the one in moderate. We had 2 or 3 of them just in the last few hours or so. We do have this one here. This is major flood stage on the Tennessee side of things. This is still the Pigeon River, but this one's in Newport, Tennessee, where it is now crested past 12 feet and climbing. Forecast to go towards 17 feet. And then again, we're going to be watching, places like Catawba River in Gaston County, which has just climbed real quickly at the 11 o'clock hour, almost up to a minor flood stage, because this is one of those areas where a lot of water kind of pools down from the foothills and the mountains. And that's the type of thing over the course of the next few days we're going to have to keep a close eye on. And so wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these gauges in the next day or so along the Catawba River, got the Broad River, going to be watching Lake Hartwell, Greenville, anything that's going to be taking some of that water down from the mountains is going to be top priority in the next couple of days. In addition to, of course, keeping our thoughts and prayers, everyone affected by the ongoing flash flooding in western North Carolina. Happy to report right now that we're not aware of any injuries or fatalities associated with this storm. But that doesn't mean that people haven't lost livelihoods, property, and the like because of those ongoing flash flooding situations, again, stretched across the portion of western North Carolina you see there outlined in green. Let's get an update now on kind of where our line is. Again, the heaviest rain now moving out of the university area into Kannapolis and Concord, into Mint Hill, into Indian Trail, coming out of Matthews. I-77 all through Charlotte is in the clear. We still have some of the heaviest rain right now in Columbia. And Elkin, Mount Airy, you're starting to get in on this line right now too. The tornado threat really, really goes down once this line has moved on through. Tornado watch goes until 2 a.m. And that's why our Carolina WeatherNet will be streaming throughout the night to help keep you up to date. What we're going to do at the top of the hour is we're going to do a bit of a reset. Give you a little bit of an insight of what you can expect here coming up in the next few moments as we continue to look live at this picture in Columbia, South Carolina. Every night at midnight, our Carolina WeatherNet, which is available to you free on the Carolina Weather Group YouTube channel, does a reset. YouTube only really lets you stream for so long. So it'll stop, and then it'll start again. So shameless promotion to like and subscribe and hit the bell on the Carolina Weather Group YouTube channel to be notified when that stream restarts a few minutes after midnight or anytime we go live, including our weekly show, which airs at 9 p.m. Eastern each week. Or you can listen to the audio form wherever it is that you may get podcasts. Lightning moving through Columbia right now. As you can see on this camera, I'm James Brierton. All of this today is a combination of Tropical Depression Fred alongside a stalled front that has been bringing us severe weather for the past few days in terms of those very intense, scattered thunderstorms. The National Weather Service has been doing a relentless job all day long of issuing timely warnings to keep us all safe. And now we're going to spend the next few days not only forecasting rivers and creeks and streams, but going out into our communities, hitting the streets, and observing storm damage to assess whether or not it was caused by tornadoes, and if so, how strong that tornado was. That's a lot of great scientific information that can be obtained and learned from those observations. And they're going to have a couple busy days going out to do all of that. We can take a look here. This is the enhanced risk that the Storm Prediction Center issued today for portions of North Carolina and South Carolina. This does technically stay in effect beyond midnight. They go 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. So after 8 a.m. tomorrow at day 2, you can see that completely drops out of the Carolinas, just that light green, which kind of constitutes your normal summertime afternoon showers and thunderstorms. So the threat will largely be out of here. And let's go real fast to a little bit of a model run. Oh, first, let's show you active warnings and watches and things right now across the Carolinas. So in green, you have the flash flood watch, which covers a lot of western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. And then you have flash flood warnings in red. The yellow is the tornado watch I've been telling you about. That goes until 2 a.m. It doesn't quite come into Winston-Salem and Greensboro. We do have a couple counties here closer to the Virginia line. But lo and behold, once you really reach Salisbury is where that drops off, and once it clears Columbia. So again, we're sticking with you now until it clears Columbia. First it was clearing Charlotte, now it's clearing Columbia. And we could pull up the HRRR rapid refresh model run to show you what we anticipate in the next few hours or so. Go ahead and loop this, bring us through the overnight hours and into a good chunk of the day tomorrow. And you can see the rotation that is left over from what is still Tropical Depression Fred moving up into Virginia and West Virginia. And then this line marches its way on through, kind of going north and east again simultaneously. But really, because it's going to be passing through the triad and the triangle during those overnight hours, we're not anticipating a lot of severe weather associated with it. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple more flood advisories, but a lot of its punch is really beginning to dwindle on down, which is some good news. Certainly, we had lots of storm reports today, and let me show you some of those by backing this time up to earlier in the day, and just take a look at the day. just take a look at this day. These are all of the storm reports and all of the warnings that were issued across the Carolinas today as a part of Tropical Depression Fred and the stalled front. This is unbelievable. I couldn't even begin to count these right now. But red representing all of the tornado warnings that were issued throughout the day. Green representing all of the flash flood warnings that were issued, many of which still remain in effect tonight. The green indicators, all separate reports of flooding. The yellow indicators and the red indicators, damage from thunderstorms and possible tornadoes. An absolutely incredible day here in the Carolinas. And our hats off to the men and women at the National Weather Service who have been working relentlessly to keep us safe and will now spend the next few days in aftermath of this severe weather, visiting our communities, doing storm damage assessments, and the work isn't over for them yet, so our hats are off to them. I'm James Brierton. We've come to that hour, folks. It is midnight here on the East Coast. If you are watching on the Carolina Weather Net, you too will be coming to a close on your daily stream. But don't worry, we're going to keep the Carolina Weather Net streaming for you all night long. So give us a moment on the Carolina Weather Group YouTube. We're going to do a reset, start a new day's stream. Throughout the night, you'll be able to monitor the latest from the Weather Service. Our ticker will keep you up to date with the latest warnings from the Weather Service, along with real-time condition skycams and radars, sitting alongside the best of our weekly show, the Carolina Weather Group. If you're watching right now on Facebook, thank you for trusting us and joining us for this live coverage from the Carolina Weather Group. If you're watching on a page or a platform that is affiliated with the Carolina Weather Group, we thank them for carrying tonight's coverage and invite you to find us at carolinaweathergroup.com. We'll be back tomorrow night with additional recap and assessment of the aftermath of this very busy weather day, August the 17th, 2021. For now, from Charlotte, I'm James Brierton. Please stay safe, stay weather aware, and as you're heading off to bed, keep those NOAA weather radios with you tonight and every night. They are a vital resource.